I'd like to call the Munhall Borough regular council meeting for September 17th in order. Roll call, please.
President Brennan,
Here.
Vice President Ondo,
Here.
Councilwoman Fry,
Here.
Councilman Youngkins,
I didn't call him yet.
you didn't call him in, okay. Councilman Shields,
Here.
Councilman Bodian,
Here.
Councilman Eads,
Here.
Chief Fuller,
Here.
Chief Ostrowski,
Here.
you threw me for a loop. Solicitor Vašević,
Here.
Matt,
Here.
Borough Manager David Sy,
Here.
Public Works Director
Here.
Bob, and Dave Cannon. He's not here.
Is Dave Cannon here tonight? No.
And Mayor Foss.
I'm here.
Okay, they're all here, except for two.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Nicole, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Folks, before we start the meeting, wait, I gotta punch it up on my phone so I get the right times and dates and stuff.
You're on speaker. There you go. Stay with us.
So anyway, a lifelong member of the borough passed away on Saturday. He was with the Catholic War veterans for, I don't know, Civil War, I don't know, it's a long time. But anyway, he did pass away, Mr. Ray Condis. A couple months ago, the mayor had given him and his wife a citation for everything that they did for the veterans and things in the borough of Munhall. So if anybody knows him, he is going to be greatly missed. Saturday from 6 to 8, he'll be laid out at Green's Funeral Home. Sunday, 2 to 4 and 6 to 8. The funeral mass will be at St. Rita's Church on Monday at 11:30, and then he will be buried at the Cemetery of the Alleghenies with full military honors. He was a Korean War veteran. He definitely was in a lot of battles and stuff in Korea. So, and I do know that he had a Purple Heart and stuff like that. So anyway, so I just wanted people to know, I wanted it to be on camera, that this is what happened. But I need to ask the mayor and the chief if it would be possible for him to have a police escort.
We can look into this, into the schedule, see how many guys are out, and we'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty nice thing for the borough to do.
Okay.
He's the cemetery is the Allegheny, was it?
Cemetery of the Alleghenies. It's,
Cemetery of the Allegheny.
yeah, it's like South 79.
It's the one for all military.
It's just a military cemetery.
Would over time be possible, chief, if we had to bring somebody out?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a lot on Monday, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to convey that before, we start the meeting. If anybody knew him, I mean, he was a real good friend of mine. He was 93 years old, and Rick's the only one that's 93 years old, so,
Can I have
no,
a minute, Rick? Rick, cameras done?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
he was a real good friend of mine, one of the nicest guys on the planet, but he did a lot for the veterans. So anyway, thank you. Thanks for...
Ray was a mainstay here at council meetings. Guys that have been around for years knew Ray. And to say he was a character would be like selling him short.
Understatement.
So I was on council, it was over 20 years ago, and he'd give everybody a hard time, and he'd test everybody. He gave me a hard time a few times. I was on vacation down in Mexico. I'm in the pool with my wife. I look across. I said, oh, I can't be. All of a sudden, he comes swimming across. He says, Shields, you can run, but you can't hide. He was in Mexico, yes. In the same resort. He laughed like hell. Oh, yeah. He talked about it for years. Shields, you can run, but you can't hide. Like,
I think a moment of silence would be appropriate. Thank you, Rick, on this. All right, let's move on. Ray certainly was a Munhall person through and through. So my president's report is reflective in the items for discussion and comment with public input. So discussion is for hiring of a part-time police officer or a full-time police officer, adopting an ordinance to join the tri-cog. A lot of this stuff we went over at the workshop and was discussed. Not a lot of it has been totally discussed, so I think it needs to be done this way. I'm glad to see that it was done both as a topic for discussion and for items on the agenda to vote on. So I think it can go either way here. Handicap parking spaces, that's obvious, but the zoning change in the R2, I asked Dave to look at that, and did you see if there were any changes or anything like that?
The only other building that could be affected would be our old number 3 firehouse. That's the only one. Other than that, there's no other big buildings in any R2.
So I don't want to jump into more of the meeting right now. We'll go through all these. We'll let everyone give their reports, and then we'll go through the agenda as it states. So, basically, that's what I've been working on is trying to see and what's going on. So we'll comment on this as we go through there. So, Mayor, do you have a report?
Yeah. I haven't seen her yet, but I'm hoping she comes in. Yesterday, I met with Piper Olak from Still Valley High School. She's going to be the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and I was really excited about doing it, and hopefully maybe she'll still make it tonight. I pulled up a chair for her here. Halloween parade coming up next month. Munhall Cares Free Store, they had a tour of the free store, and Munhall Cares had a tour of the old Borough building. They seem very interested, and there is somebody interested in possibly renting some of the old Borough building. So that's basically what's been going on. Everything else is pretty much on the agenda that we're going to talk about later tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Solicitor's report?
Yes, thank you, President Brennan. First item, a couple items that just received recently. One of them today, I'll get to that in a few minutes. One is from the attorney for Turtle Creek Valley. It's about the upper parking lot that we are obligated to construct. This has been an ongoing discussion for quite some time, and I update council with each step of the project and any expenditure. So we haven't been billed for anything yet, but we are responsible to pay for this. The latest email came in, it was just late last week, that the Homestead Borough Council requires a developer's agreement, which is pretty common. And one of the things that's part of the agreement is a requirement of a bond. And that requires the engineering department, the engineers that have been hired by Turtle Creek Valley to construct the lot, to prepare a quoted fee for the bond. And the cost is $1,800. We don't have to vote on it, I'm just giving you for your knowledge. Unless there's any pushback, I do need a consent tonight, whether that's appropriate. It looks to be in line. It is required. It's just part of the process. I have instructed the solicitor for Turtle Creek Valley to make sure that he communicates with me every step of the way about every dollar that's being spent for our approval, because ultimately we're paying for this. So I'd like to respond to him tomorrow. It's something that we have to do in order to get final approval from Homestead Borough for that construction. President Brennan, unless there's any objection from anyone here, it's a routine step in this process. I would like to respond to him tomorrow that that's acceptable. It doesn't require a formal vote because we're not paying it now. So if that's okay, anyone have any questions about that issue?
I think it's a go.
Okay, thank you. Next item, I did review with Chief Fuller the memorandum of understanding for the police services in the school, which is required for the borough to supply a police officer at the school building. I suggested some minor changes. Chief Fuller, he agreed, and those have been made. I don't know if it's been executed, but everything else looks to be in order, so that's something we need, and we discussed last month, so that's in place and ready to go. Last month I was asked about tax forgiveness. Homestead Borough has a program that someone had brought to my attention that we were considering, that we may be interested in here, Borough Council, and I explained that we need statutory authority. Any type of tax abatement program has to be authorized by Pennsylvania statute. I did the research. I sent out a memo dated September 5th, so that's a discussion item whenever council's ready to digest that. There are 3 statutes that authorize tax abatement, essentially for new construction or renovation of blighted and dilapidated properties. It can apply to residential or commercial and business properties. So the memo is there for you to review, and I'll take direction from council as you want to move further if you're interested in exploring this further. And the last thing I have, it is a discussion item. It just came in today. It was last minute, but it seems to be somewhat urgent, and that is there's a project that the West Mifflin Sanitary Authority is performing. They have to temporarily shut down the Homeville pump station so they can put in 3,600 feet of new sewer line, 10-inch force main. And I was brought into this very late because technically we're not really an important party to this. Our authority is, and the authority had been negotiating with West Mifflin Authority and Alcosan. It's primarily Alcosan because all the sewage that is going, most of the sewage is going to Alcosan. And the solicitor for Alcosan communicated with me today and sent me an agreement and said, we just realized that the borough needs to sign this because it dates back to an old agreement from the 40s called a Z agreement that we are signatory to with Alcosan, and that's why it requires our approval of the agreement. But so I immediately got on the phone. I did speak to Jackie Coles, and I called Dave Yunkins. They happened to be at a conference for authority conference. I talked to our authority solicitor, Ramel Nicholas. I talked to the Alcosan solicitor, and I also spoke to the solicitor for West Mifflin Sewer Authority to make sure I fully understand what was going on and why we were involved and what we needed to do. I can tell you that there is an agreement that our authority has already signed with West Mifflin. They're receiving a payment. What that means is essentially for 10 weeks, then the sewage will be passing through Munhall and Alcosan, a lot of Alcosan lines. Matt may understand this better than I do. But the authority is primarily the entity that's in charge. They're in charge. Of course, they own and operate our sewer lines. And Jackie and their solicitor assured me everything's in order. This looks good. They've approved it. They're going to receive a fee for this temporary usage of the lines. And again, the only reason we need to approve this is because of this agreement dating back to the 40s. We're not spending any money. This borough's not receiving any money, although the authority is. They need to start the project immediately, and there's no spending of money. They asked me, is there any way that we could vote on this tonight? And again, I've studied that. As we understand, the laws have become stricter about items that are not on the agenda and whether we can vote for them. I'm rendering a legal opinion that we can't act on this tonight because there's no expenditure by the borough, and it's a sewage situation that needs to be addressed urgently, and we don't want any sewage problems. So it was described as an emergency situation by the Alcosan solicitors. So with the approval of President Brennan, I would suggest that we make a motion to amend the agenda which if that passes, and then make a motion to approve and execute this agreement with Alcoasand, subject to your approval. And that ends my report.
Is that something we just vote right now on?
We can do it right now. It requires two motions. A motion to amend the agenda, which has to be voted on and passed, and then a motion to approve and execute the agreement with Alcoasand and West Mifflin Sanitary Sewer Authority.
Council, are we in favor of doing this?
Make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, so that first is a motion to amend the agenda. We need a vote on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Thank you.
The motion is unanimous.
Yep, and then next, we need a motion to approve and execute the agreement with Alcoasand and West Mifflin Sanitary Sewer Authority.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous.
Okay, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I jump in 1 second? Melissa actually got a little proclamation for it. I see we have a young man in the audience, and
School night.
Rowan
It's a
Dryscott.
school night.
Hi, Rowan, can you come up and see me? Melissa prepared this, thank you, Melissa, for preparing this. Rowan, I heard you're gonna be building, placing a book library at Woodhill, huh? You like to read? Yeah? You excited about it? So you're gonna start working there and have a nice new book place for all the kids and adults too? Will be books I can read there too? Good, I like kids' books too though, so that's cool. And I want to congratulate you. Thank you, Rowan. And here's thank you. I forgot. School night, I don't want to be out here too much. He doesn't have to. Unless you want to stay, you can stay as long as you want.
No.
Yeah.
Very important, very important, but
What's your favorite book? Spider-Man. Nice.
What grade is he in?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
you want to talk about it?
Mine's the Hulk.
You like talking? Yeah. Are you excited to read the book? I like reading it, yeah. It was all his idea. He was sad when we were down there one day because there was one at his school, at his preschool, and he wanted one down there. So.
He's pretty big for kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm a first grader.
Yeah.
I mean, do you guys go down to Woodhill Park?
Yeah, we live on Woodhill.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, you know how many people go. I think that would be outstanding.
Yeah, and we have a bunch of like little ones at the top of Woodhill now, like and basically our entire street is all little ones now, so we thought it was a
That's
good
cool.
time.
Good.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Good.
And
Rowan, do you know where you,
he's going to help us build it.
Rowan, do you know
This is the
where-
grandfather, he called him and said, will you please help me build this?
do you know where you're gonna put it? Where are you gonna put it?
Just Woodhill Park.
By my park.
I mean, up by the swings and stuff?
Yeah, they have a
Nice.
We figured we needed to have you guys tell us where to put it.
Yeah.
There
I
is a
figured
spot.
we'd call.
weren't
There is a spot.
I figured we'd
There is a
call
spot.
Melissa.
There is a
Yeah, just call
Any
Melissa. We figured we'd call
place
Melissa
that
and
it won't
ask
get
her
to
exactly
the
what she
5
wanted.
You know, so probably by the swings and the little park and stuff.
That was our-
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
We usually clean it up for you. We take pretty good work.
cool.
All right, thank
I
you.
live right there too, Rowan, so
We have to come visit it, we'll let you know when it's done. I
Cool.
don't think it'll take us very long.
Nice. Big softball thing fundraiser coming up.
Couple days.
You say that's it? Yeah, you better be ready. How long,
I got some pressure on.
Well, Pat, do we have our choice in what wood it's gonna be made out of? Like teak or, you know?
Or it falls
We'll
off the
get
truck.
it built, and we'll,
Well, you have it built, but I'm not sure what kind of way.
Couple days, Pat, come on.
yeah.
We'll be there tomorrow afternoon.
Good for you, Rowan. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shame your keys are on the floor.
Ashley. Ashley, yes, send me pictures of the progress, so I can update everybody.
Okay, thanks.
See ya. Mrs. Olenowitz is actually gonna ask his whole kindergarten class to donate a book as well, so it's gonna be like a whole family project, whole community project as well, so.
Thank you. Ready?
Pretty cool. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the engineer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed some of these items last week, but again, Creek Street, I talked to JF Paris, and he's willing to hold his bid price for a couple months until we get the results of the GPDTF announcements. Paving, almost completed. They have a few punch list things they're working through. Ravine Street, we had a presentation last week. So that's up to you guys to hash out at some point, see if we're gonna put speed humps in.
Speed humps.
And then both of the demos on Martha and Margaret are complete. And Dan, the grant writer, did put in for the Act 152s for demolitions as well for this year.
He made the deadline.
Yeah.
It was Friday, I believe, right?
Yep.
Very good.
Can we put some fencing up on that Markup Street? Something so nobody falls over the hillside? 'Cause it's a straight drop, it's only a small little hill and then it's straight down.
Like a construction firm.
Something you wouldn't use the orange, but the orange fencing, put it across there. I don't know where to get the stone wall on the hillside. Then we do the little rescue at the bottom. Okay.
Anything else, Matt?
That's all. Any questions?
Any questions for the engineer?
Can I say something about the paving? You did Beach Way, okay, it was between Center and Davis. Did a great job on it, needed it really bad, except in the back of my house. Everybody else's you sealed, and that mine, I have gates back there where I can pull my trailer into my yard and stuff. You just left it. You left the whole, it's not been tapered off. And I had brought in my recycling bins. I brought in my trash can. It's just like the 3-inch drop. It's not tapered or anything. And if I bring my trailer in or my vehicle in, it's all going to just crack apart.
What's your address?
3915.
Good street?
39, no, Center.
Center.
So it's Beach. You know, Beach is the alley that was done.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
But like I said, the alley looks great now, finally, after, I don't know how many years. Too many to count.
Any other questions for the engineer? Okay, let's
Oh,
move
yeah,
on. Yes.
Yeah, my name's Patty Arillo. I live on Hilltop Street. Good job. The road's done. Now it's like a speedway. I mean, flying up and down, you know. And I tell you what, those guys did a good job. They were all old guys too, like in their 60s. And I tell you what, they worked. They did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
60s, that's not old guys.
Well, I know, I'm older than that, but I mean, to do that kind of work, I mean, and they worked too, they were good. Got a good company to do.
Glad you're happy with it.
Thank you.
Yep,
Long overdue.
long as they do that.
Okay,
40 years, maybe 40 years,
wow.
yeah. Now everybody's flying up and down, even I'm flying up and down. I mean,
What?
yeah.
Police chief.
I mean, it's so smooth now, it's really nice, thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the code enforcement report.
You have a copy of my report. Building permits issue 14, occupancy inspections 18, lien letters sent 15, code enforcement issues 10 for weeds, 17 for garbage, and court hearings 8, 4 that were continuance and 4 were removed. That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for the code enforcement officer? Okay, let's move forward to the, let's move forward to the public works report.
We ready?
I'm ready.
All right, all I got is we're finishing up about 3 alleys that were milled, we gotta pave them.
They're alleys that we're paving?
Yes,
Awesome.
in-house, and then,
What alleys are they?
one is Diamond Way, one is 16th Avenue. The other alley, I don't know the name of it,
Okay.
Diamond and what?
16th
16th,
16.
Avenue. I guess the alley began 16th Avenue.
yes.
How many total alleys have we paved this year, Bob? Do you know?
It'll be about 4 or 5.
5.
How's it going? Pretty good?
Yeah. And he's working out. Mainly we pave on Thursday and Fridays. I have the most people.
Oh, you had favorable weather too.
Yes, we have.
Did we look at any of the Main Street planters where we're gonna remove and put
Not yet.
mulch in? Okay.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Richard. Go ahead.
On Louise Street, there's a couple houses there that the brush, the front on the sidewalk, it's all overgrown. You can't even walk on that sidewalk. I don't know if we can do anything about that or not.
I will trim it up.
There's actually a tree place across the whole sidewalk right there.
On the way.
On the weed. David and I saw that yesterday. I went to Corey.
All right. Check
Was it yesterday, the day before we saw it?
2 days ago?
Yeah, we saw, there's a tree that came down across the sidewalk.
All right.
There's a
Between
couple of them
13th
there.
and 14th.
Put it in my phone.
Okay, anything else for the Public Works Director? All right, let's move forward to the Chief of Police report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council has a copy of my report for the month of August. The Police Department responded to 670 calls for service. We made 41 arrests, 64 traffic citations, or 64 traffic stops and 49 traffic citations. The officers worked 104 hours of extra details, 62 hours of regular overtime, and 87 hours of floor time. The police department's a member of the South Hills DUI Task Force. 2 of our officers, Officer Miller and Kuntz, were assigned to work at DUI checkpoint in Brentwood on August 23rd. I do not have the stats for that. Officer Ponwas completed a 5-day school resource officer certification course. And we needed to fill in a crossing guard spot at Western Road in Marion. I interviewed 2 applicants, Sharon Grace and Judy Becahola. Both are interested in that position, and they're both interested in being an alternate if they don't get picked for the post. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Are we voting on this tonight? Is this on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'd like to.
Good. Any questions for the chief? All right, let's move forward. Fire chief's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 54 calls from Munhall, 22 were actually mutual aid. Dispatch to acknowledgement was 2 minutes, 24 seconds. Dispatch to en route was 4 minutes, 13 seconds. And dispatch to on scene was 6 minutes, 49 seconds. We had 1 injury to a firefighter. It was a minor cut. They're back to work. And then we also have St. Teresa's and Park School Public Safety talks with the fire department coming up in October. Want to let Mr. Cole elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's first full week in October, that's Fire Prevention Week. This will be my 38th year going to Park School and schools to do fire prevention. We roughly had, there's 200 somewhat students at St. Teresa's, and there's roughly 300 some at Park School. We have lunch with the children at Park School, and they beat up on firemen pretty good on a recess. But this is an ongoing thing, and the parents want to see anything about the fire halls, and that, just stop by any drill night and look in our fire hall and see what kind of stuff we have. But yeah, 38 years, I'm still doing it. So, thank you.
Good work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You'll do it another 38. You'll do it another 38.
He's only 40 years old. He'll be 80 next month.
The oldest kindergarten.
He's old as you look. To the fire chief. Fire chief, you know, every meeting we have, we get reports of like, the time it takes to go to a call. Are we good compared to other towns? And my next question would be, because of the proximity of our fire halls, does that make a big difference?
A loaded question.
All right.
Yeah, that's a very loaded question. The current time, 6 minutes, 49 seconds, that's from dispatch, so when we get notified to being on scene. That is, whether it's a battalion chief, Glenn or myself, or another fire unit. So that is a pretty good response time. En route, you're at 4 minutes on average, I think is about where he's at. So our staffing levels, I mean, everyone's could always be better. I mean, because let's face it, we're a working community. But our times are actually, I feel, pretty good.
Now, what about the proximity of our?
That's a very loaded question.
I meant it to be.
I might be able to help you with that. Years ago, most of the neighborhood fire departments had members were within running distance of the firehouse. That changed over the years. Actually, I lived in the park. I was a number 5 fireman for years, and I'd have to travel to the fires. That has changed over the years. We have people from, Tim's lives in Munhall, he's a homestead fireman. People come from all over, not necessarily belong in that neighborhood fire department. They kind of switch, everybody kind of goes all over the place.
And they do. You know, every department has members from all over. You know, some departments have live-ins, some departments have guys that stay there and hang out. So, I mean, you know, I think with each battalion chief, they know their area.
Did you say we have live-ins?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we've had that for years.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Number 1.
Number 1?
So, you know, again, it is a very loaded question depending upon who you talk to. But I think each battalion chief of their station knows their area, they know their guys, and they staff accordingly. So we end up with good response times.
Well, we have Dan here for number 4. A lot of his guys all live in the park area, so that really helps their response times.
They probably have response time?
They do, because everyone lives
Right there.
right there.
Right.
And Floyd works next door, so I mean, it kind of helps him.
Built-in driver.
You have a built-in driver every single day.
He slowed down a little bit.
He was quick today.
Chief, I have just a question on your report, what you said about mutual aid. Could you give us that number for mutual aid?
I have 22 calls. So that's any of our Munhall departments responding to Homestead, West Homestead. I know Station 200 responded to Westmoreland County just recently. So anytime we go outside of our Munhall area, it's a mutual aid request.
And what about coming into our area? Do we get that as well?
Aid given to Munhall, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 calls that we received aid on. Most of them being possible structure fires where we bring in Homestead and 292. We had one call that was on 8-5. We had a boat in the river down behind Damascus, or where the 2 companies down there. We had to bring in 113 boat to assist.
So they're working together?
Everyone is.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you. Okay, tax collector.
I have a report.
Oh, good.
This month, tax collectors collected $21,641.77. So far for the year, $4,641,849.85. She expects to collect another $100,000 after the reminder goes out soon, and then by the end of the year, another $100,000. The other thing of note is that Lowe's has been able to challenge their tax rate again, their value, and they received an exoneration of $609,000 additionally off of their tax bill in terms of their property value. So we'll have to pay those some more money.
How much do you think that'll be?
No idea yet.
Right. We already gave him 100,000 back, right?
For 2 years' worth of taxes. So that's that for tax collector. And I can convey any questions, but I don't have any more answers on
Okay, thank you, David. Parks and Rec?
I just want to mention that on Sunday, September 29th, Boy Scout Michael Stickle is going to have his ceremony up at the Ron Watkins Parkland on Main Street in Caroline at 4 o'clock. If anybody would like to go up, he did a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. And I also wanted to say that I just need to clarify. In last month's minutes regarding Ryan Highland for down at Kennedy Park, he's working on his Eagle Scout project at Kennedy Park. He is. He's going to clean the park, new benches, and we have washed the wall behind Memorial and paint. I want to make sure that people understand. He's painting the light post. He's not painting the wall, okay? Because I don't want somebody to say, oh no, they got too close to the memorial, because we all said, don't want that. So, under Parks and Recreation, yes, just put paint the light post or poles, okay? So that people don't think you painted the wall. Thank you.
Could you give us the date for Main Street again?
Main Street is Sunday, September 29th, 4 o'clock, there at the park.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have a sewer authority report? Okay, manager's report?
Just a couple things. December 10th, we will be receiving the charging stations to be installed for the electric garbage trucks, at which time we'll have to pay, I don't know the exact number, but it's about $120,000. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that will be reimbursed by the grant. We're going to be starting the pension audit in October. This is about a 3-year pension audit, and that shouldn't, I'm getting all the information together for that, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Several of us, including Bernie, had a phone call with S&P regarding the bond rating for the borough.
That was on the 28th of August. We met, Tim Little was also, it was actually his last day. We had a conference call.
Yeah.
Which brought up some concerns.
Most notably, I mean, I've responded to most of the questions from S&P, but I'm still trying to come up with a good narrative for why we had a deficit for 3 years, according to our accounting reports. So I'm still working on that and give them a response this week because they need to make a decision. So I'm trying to make it as favorable of a report for them as possible.
In 22, our bond rating, or in 20, our bond rating was A+. In 22, we were A negative. So we want to go any lower than that.
A is still good, but below A
Right.
would be problematic.
That'd be problematic. And that's what we're talking about. Their concern is, one of the questions was, will we plan on hiring any more employees this year? And we didn't give them an answer. And that's an issue with them as far as between the deficit and adding more employees, even though if we hiring another police officer, even if we're reimbursed from the school district, it's still on our books as our employee. Standard employee don't care if we're getting reimbursed by the school district or not. So that's an issue that came up with me. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I wasn't aware, even in the 28th, that we were talking about a deficit at the time.
Are we running at a deficit now?
Yes. What do we think it is, Dave? About 200,000?
Around 200,000, but I'll have a better answer at the end of this month.
Right.
When I get a better report from bookbinders. I'm working on the budget, and I should have a rough draft by the end of this month. We can talk about it at the next workshop. I met with the departments last week, I think. I don't know. recently, I can't remember when. And I got all their ideas, I'm gonna talk with all of them individually, and we'll hash out a good budget that serves the best interests as possible. And the last thing I spoke with, I do not remember her name, she's interested in renting the old Borough building.
Right.
Katie Whitney.
Yes, and basically what she needs from us is, and I need to find a copy of the old blueprints so I can give her an estimate of how much square footage she wants to rent. Once I have the square footage, then we can do a calculation for a agreement, a contract. So
Okay.
if anybody knows where I can find a copy of the old blueprints, it'd be helpful to me.
Dave?
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
And that's all I have right now.
Question for you on the charging station, because I hear back and forth.
Yeah.
Do we have an area where they're gonna be installed? Because I believe it was back behind the Borough building back there, and the power grid was gonna come up from Forest Avenue. But I'm hearing different things now, so I don't know what the plan is.
What I ended up running into Seth yesterday at the medical benefits meeting in Cranberry. And he mentioned just offhand that the plan was to build the actual charging station, install it near the garages, but then run a line away from the garages so they can be charged. I don't know how many feet away it was his original plan, so not near anything else. So I still like the idea of putting them on the far side of the parking lot entirely.
Is there only gonna be one charging station?
One charging station for four terminals.
And when you say on the far end of the parking lot, you mean
So,
the captive parking lot?
The parking lot is currently being utilized by the workers from the Turtle Valley.
Over here then, over on this side, okay.
Far enough away, we can clear off that space, is my idea at least.
Okay.
Long term, I'd love to build an actual structure there,
Okay,
just to house things better there anyways. But that's cost money, of course, but at least to get away from everything else would be a good idea. But I'm gonna try to get a hold of a bunch of people and try to figure out what the original plan was. But he did say it was not to have the vehicles charging next to anything else, because that's always a concern.
understood. So,
But you can run a line.
are we building that structure?
We're
Or what?
installing it.
We're installing it?
Yes, but I need to get someone who can handle high voltage
Okay,
installations.
okay.
Electrician has that skill, and then see what else we need from our own staff.
Okay,
That's the only place they're gonna be, is behind the Borough building, right?
If anybody have any ideas on it, I'm open. I'm still trying to figure this all out, so.
right, absolutely. That was the plan. I don't know all the details that were worked out from whom to what to where, and what is actually covered by the state and not. You know, are we getting money to build this?
Well, the actual charging station, which you've already spent, I think, $50,000 as a down payment, I believe that entire thing was covered, except for, of course, the 10% the borough was responsible for. Same for the vehicle. So I think the charging station, but the installation itself, I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Nobody else can use them, right? Or state public or anybody like that?
That would be a liability I wouldn't recommend, just because they're built for the borough vehicles.
Are you planning on buying an electric vehicle?
No, I'm just,
Also, it's gonna be cordoned off behind a fence too, so we don't really want to have anybody having access to any of our vehicles at any time.
Agreed. Any other questions for the borough manager? Thank you, David. Okay, we're gonna move forward to approving the minutes of August 24th meeting. August 20, 2024 council meeting minutes. We need a motion. Motion by Kevin.
Second.
Second by Bernie. All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? No nays? Okay, all in favor is unanimous. All right, so for registered presentations, we have no one on the docket. So we'll move forward for items for discussion with public comment. All right, we'll start first with council to vote on hiring a part-time police officer to to round out shifts left open by assigning a full-time officer as a school resource officer at Park School or hiring a full-time police officer. The individual up for consideration is Jonathan Soder. So to start this conversation off, I'd just like to state first and foremost that everyone is concerned about the children in Park School, in the high school, in all the streets and all the borough, everywhere. So it's not something that we're not concerned about. It's something I think we need to know is what are the consequences going to be? Do we have to raise taxes to do this? Can we do this now? Do we have to wait until next year? I don't know, and that has not all been discussed or explained. So I'm certainly in favor of having police officers there. And secondly, just asking the question, you know, what is the plan going to be in the future whenever the school campus is all moved into one place and we have the grade school and the high school all in the borough of Munhall? Now, does Munhall Borough, will we share in that responsibility? Are we going to have more than one police officer there? Are we going to have Homestead police officers there and West Homestead police officers there? It's not been discussed, and there is no plan given to us. So these are questions that need to be answered before we go ahead and just vote on hiring a full-time police officer or a part-time police officer. And what is the best way to go about this? It's just discussion point between council. We'd like input from the chief of police, obviously. I know that the police don't really care for part-time police officers. And I know that they don't want to share jurisdiction avenues with West Homestead or Homestead. But I believe with mutual aid agreements with everyone throughout all the communities, and I brushed on this topic with our solicitor in the past, I'm sure some sort of an agreement could be reached on that. Am I correct or incorrect in thinking that way?
No, we could explore that.
Okay. So, that being said, the discussion is not whether we want police officers protecting our children there. That's a given. We want that to happen. We support the school and what they're doing. We need to make sure that we're in contact with the security people that are in the school already, because from what I understand, Park School has several security people in there during the day. And I asked the chief, are we in contact with them? And in speaking with officers during the week, because I went into the police station and asked them, and I believe we are in contact with our SRO officer.
No, the SRO officers have our portable, and they also have a school portable. And our portables have the school channel in it already. So any officer can switch their portable and talk to the school.
Okay, that's good. So that was one of the questions we talked about last week. We weren't really sure about. I did follow up and go in and talk with several officers and did find that answer to be true. So that's a good thing that we're working together so that they can contact, any police officer can contact anyone there at any time. Well, that's good. So that being said, I'm going to open up the floor for discussion for this item discussion.
Well, my concern is, from the 28th, when we had the conference call with Standard & Poor, until last week, I was ill, I wasn't here, we ended up with a $200,000 deficit. We still don't have anything settled with the officer on heart and lung benefits. I think that we're going to try to get that done by next month, Greg?
Well, yeah, that's a personnel matter, as you
Right.
understand, but just generally, without violating any legal requirements, we have made a request for an update. I know that. And
But we're
I
still-
haven't heard a response, but that's still an open issue.
That's still an open issue, and we're still
That's an
paying,
expenditure.
we're still paying a full salary for an officer who's not even here anymore.
Right.
And to take on another police officer's salary and benefits before the end of the year, I'm not sure if we're able to do that. Our bond rating is important. Our bond rating goes down, you know, it's gonna hurt us big time.
And honestly, we could probably do it till the end of the year, but it's gonna affect next year's budget is what it's gonna affect. That's what my biggest concern is for next year. Obviously, running a $200,000 deficit right now, I agree with you, Mr. Shields, is a big flag, big red flag, so.
We do have an officer leaving next June. So the school district will be paying the salary until next June for one resource officer, I believe, right?
No, well,
1.5.
1.5
1.5 what?
officers.
1.5 officers.
Yeah. We have a full-time SRO at the high school, middle school.
Okay.
And we have a part-time SRO at Park School. He works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of every week inside the school. Monday, Tuesday, we take turns rotating with the officers that are working to go through the school.
So basically, we're looking for 2 days coverage, Monday and Tuesday,
Yeah.
Yes.
at the school, at Park School.
Well, we also took that officer off the road. So he's no longer on the daylight shift because he's in the school. So we're down an officer on daylight.
And we're currently down on one officer on 3 to 11.
Yeah, so-
Because for about, 8 weeks maybe?
Yeah, we have one officer just went on light duty starting today. We have that other officer that's on heart and lung, and the third officer that we're short is Darren Sherrick, who passed away. So if you would hire this officer, you're just replacing Darren, who's already budgeted, but I don't know if it's going to affect the budget next year.
That was the original plan in April, I believe, to hire 3 officers. And we hired 2 because one actually didn't turned it down, and there was another man still in the academy. And we were hoping we would be able to get him once he finishes the academy, which he has. I think he finished his academy in July.
Okay, we hired 3, he turned it down. We budgeted for 2, then we lost Darren. So we still replacing Darren, and we still have an open spot on the budget for it.
Yeah, but we have a deficit.
And-
200,000.
And how much do we have in our Pliget account? Can we pull some, or our Pliget account?
You have to talk to the manager.
We have about 1.7 million in our reserve fund.
So we can pull the 200,000, then we don't have a deficit.
I don't know how that works.
The chief has had, had a struggle with scheduling. I mean, there is, he had, I talked to him before the meeting, or before too. He has never had a full accompaniment of officers working at one time because of people off for a disability or, whatever. He's never had a full staff working since he's been chief because of losing somebody or somebody just off temporarily for a few months.
Can I go to Mr. Hamm and ask some questions, Mr. Bill, about the deficit and where we're headed here?
Well, I guess I wasn't on the bond call, but I think the issue there, in 2021, 22, we received ARPA funds, which those were probably not considered revenue. Okay, it was $575,000. In 2023, we were reimbursed for the grant for this building of $1 million. So, borough manager, did they recognize payment of the grant as revenue or not? My guess is they did.
Sounds like.
So that would make sense why they said what they did. But last year, the call in 22, they were concerned, okay, because the deficit was definitely there in before 21. The reality was the CAN loan was gotten and spent before the end of the year. Okay, so that was very, they read that in the book. were not concerned with last year. Now, I was not part of that call, and that would be a discussion with Seth that should be had. There was no concern about the bond rating or any of the expenses. As far as the budget into looking past for the year coming up, we knew with the increase in salaries for the police officers that we knew we were going to, the revenue was going to be less than the expenses. This is further aggravated by the lows, and others right there have gotten money back. So I know that as far as the budget was concerned for the real estate taxes, it was $4.6 million. The borough manager said that she was expecting another 100,000 plus another 100, so to get 4.8, which that's probably over budget. But I didn't quite catch what we've paid the lows back and what they're requesting now.
We paid $100,000 back,
Okay.
and I don't have a calculation yet.
So they filed an appeal and they won again. Do you know the actual amount?
Yeah, so before it was $4.2 million, $4.3 million in value. Then they got an exoneration of $609,000, so now the current value is $3,689,000.
Okay, so once you figure out what their taxes are going to be, then you can subtract. Now, do you have to pay them in this year?
I don't even have a number yet, so I don't see
Yeah,
why.
I mean, the other thing I would sit there, at the time with the, we voted on, we got the grant for the charging station and the 3 garbage trucks, which the garbage trucks were a significant savings to the borough. We were paying 10% of what it would cost us. So the actual diesel-based trucks were around $500,000 a piece. You have to destroy 3 trucks, okay? At the time, and you have to give them a certificate of destruction. You cannot resell them, and Seth can verify all this. And the actual charging station itself was gonna come first before the trucks. The trucks initially, when my term was up, it didn't have any dates. It was just in the conversations in January of this year that I believe that the charging stations were due, just like you said, in the 4th quarter of '24, and I believe that the trucks are going to be in the 4th quarter of '25. So I think it's a matter of timing associated with the revenue and expenses, but that is troubling. I don't know if I would be asked to be part of the discussion, but I would gladly give my notes right there or be part of a discussion with Seth Abrams and the bond agency if you would like. Their biggest concern would be if they're not considering any of that revenue, you would sit there and say, yes, absolutely, our revenue doesn't match our expenses. So the good part was, with the grant money, what we put aside, there was $500,000 set aside for Turtle Creek. And I don't know where we're at with Turtle Creek. Hopefully, they can come underneath that. Then $250,000 was done for a rainy day fund, and $250,000 was done for a capital improvement. Okay, I don't know what's been spent to date itself, but my guess would be that the issue with the bond company will be recognizing that as revenue or not. So,
In your estimate, you think it would be?
no, probably it's not going to be, which is probably their concern.
Right.
Well, here's the thing with revenue. Things that are one-time gains typically are not, because they over-exaggerate your revenue. So an example, in 21 and 22 with the ARPA funds, the $575,000 exaggerated the revenue coming in. The one-time cost of the grant exaggerates the revenue coming in. Now, the smart person right there, so we got the grant money, that went into funds. Okay, you still have the money, but I can see why they're considering that. So when you go into this year's budget, which based on what our expense was, we felt there was pretty good chance that in the following year, we might have to raise taxes because of some of the escalating costs, plus also the real estate tax repeals that we're gonna have, and that was fully discussed.
It was.
So, yeah, I mean, it's concerning, obviously, to find out where you're at to date, and like anything with expenses, this is not talking about the bond, okay, or your bond rating, but you don't want to, this year, you don't have those one-time revenue sources. So at this point, I would look at things that you could possibly, from a cash flow standpoint, not spend moving forward through the rest of the year, or at least until that you can forecast when those expenses will hit, in which quarter. If you do that, then you can make a reasonable decision on the finances themselves. So I did that for a long time in my previous job. I'm retired, so that would be a point. I have some other questions, but I'll wait for the public comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we budgeted $171,000 for school resource officers. So if we don't get that full 171, we're going to be deficit on that also, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, you're reimbursed, okay?
Well, I'm just saying, because it's in the budget to, come in as, as a revenue stream. If we don't, if we don't have that revenue stream coming in, we're going to be short somewhere else also.
I would say this, okay? Until you know, the borough manager's been here a very short period of time, okay? So his ability to understand the finances is pretty limited at this time.
And just to add to that, we have not had a borough manager, a true borough manager for several months. So it's hard to see where we're at. If you're not behind the eight ball every day, looking at where you're at and calculating and seeing where your expenditures are, where you're at and where you're gonna be in 5 months from now or whatever, it's hard to say.
My suggestion would be to the department heads, is to look at where you're at along with the borough manager and bookbinders to where you're at year to date with the expenses themselves. On the police side, based on the fact right there that you had a death, right there, you have a period of time from that death right now, but you have overtime costs that will probably there. On the borough manager side, you have the period of time that you paid a third party in that position right there versus what, I'll just give you an example, okay?
It's numbers, it's numbers.
Yeah, but it's this simple. The previous borough manager was there 4 months, okay? The question is, and we'll just say he made $1, okay? And he hired, a temporary borough manager, we'll say you paid him $2, okay? So if I took up the total borough manager's salary over 12 months, it would have been $12. But if I have the borough manager, the temporary one, and say he was here for 3 months, you paid him $2. So you got $4, you got 3 months, right there, $2. Now you have $10, you gotta pay the new borough manager, September, October, November, and December, right? So you have 4. So you're already over budget, right there in that area. That's the type of work that you need to do itself, looking at, back with all the department heads, were there any expenditures that were outside our budget and what they were for? So my suggestion, as I said this before, when we were talking about Creek Street, was to make good decisions, you have to have good information. And the good information is around your finances. So the reality is, I would say that in all fairness to the new borough manager, he needs at least, probably to your, next working meeting to make a good decision. I would say in the period of time, the easiest thing, not on the police officers itself, from the cost standpoint, would to pay overtime right there till you can make a good decision. That would be my professional opinion.
Okay.
And Dave, you didn't have the numbers from bookbinders you need right now.
Because No, not the numbers, not the numbers as I would need to really understand.
Right.
Because I have a comparison of what was spent up to what should have been spent at that point in time, but I need a comparison of what's spent to what will be spent by the.
But we hope we'll have that by the next finance.
Yeah, I told her what I needed,
Right.
I should have that by the next time, yes.
Okay. Any public comment on this? Anyone?
Just regarding the comments about the future of the school district and the buildings and stuff like that. Yeah, the school district's goal is to always have municipal SROs in our building. We cannot do what the municipal SROs do, even if we have our own police force. So we still need to rely on municipal SROs. My personal desire as the vice president of the board would be to have at least 2 firearms in the building at all times. So what we would like to try to do is expand our currently developed Steel Valley School District Police Department to have our own armed officers. We've been trying to acquire some grants to do that. But to work alongside the municipal SROs because we still need them for certain things. Gateway screwed this up whenever they went to a whole 100% school district police force. They found out very quickly that they still had to rely on the municipal police department. They couldn't do certain things. They burnt bridges in the process, and then they had a huge issue making it work. So we still need to work with the municipal police departments to make this work. Whether that police department uniform says Munhall Homestead or West Homestead, we don't really care. It doesn't matter to the school district. We just want to make sure that we have police in our buildings. How that works out as to who it is up to the municipalities to figure out through mutual aid agreements or anything like that. But we just want to make sure that we have a full-time police officer in each one of our buildings.
So when the campus all becomes one campus, you have the grade school in there, and then you have the middle school in there, and then you have the high school in there. Are you saying you like three
We
SROs?
consider the high school, middle school as one building.
Okay.
So as it is now with Officer Bomey in that building, and then we would want another one in the new elementary school. So to your point, Munhall Borough would feel that burden 100%, while West Homestead and Homestead did not. However, there's nothing that we as a school district can do to solve that problem. That would be up to the municipalities to work on an agreement if that was an avenue you guys want to go. But like I said, we don't care whose name is on the jersey. You know, we just want to make sure there's an officer there. Obviously, there'd be things that the police chiefs would have to work out as far as jurisdictional boundaries and as who can do what. And if we had a West Homestead officer working there, could they cite kids in Steel Valley if that building is in our boundary? And that would be a question for the police chief. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think you guys have these problems on the waterfront now with that type of thing. So I don't know the legalities of that.
And neither do we. It's just, this is conversation, and our solicitors will look into all that stuff, and I'm sure we need to contact both other municipalities and see what actually is allowed and what we can do and what we can't do. So, and what we want to do as well, because I know that Munhall Police doesn't really want to give up that jurisdiction. And, but the police and the mayor, we love them. We have a great police department, but it's council's decision on how we do that. And we need to work together along with the school district. We're all in this together. It's not like we're pitted against one another. We need to work together on all these subjects. Absolutely. So we're not saying that at all.
The only thing, I mean, I just would like to go on record saying that I know that the police chief has talked to the superintendent and stuff, that the request from the school district is absolutely to have a full-time officer in each one of our school buildings, 100% of the time.
And that's why
how
we're
you
bringing
guys
this up.
figure out how the police chief figure out that staff, that's not for us to decide or dictate how you guys spend your money and do what you want to do. That's just a request.
Right.
And we're fully committed to follow the MOU and say that we will support 50% of salary and benefits as we did before.
And that's why the topic of conversation is being brought up, because it needs to be discussed, and we need to find a means to the end.
Absolutely.
Is there an officer at their school?
There is Homestead pays, same agreement. I honestly think it's the same exact agreement, just with Munhall Borough instead of Homestead, and it's the same thing. Now, I will tell you what led to us having to get to the point where we felt the need to create our own police force was we went through periods of time with Homestead Borough where there was no officer there. And as a school district, that's not a good enough answer for us. Right? So when I go to a meeting just like you guys do, I have to answer questions as to why there's not a cop there. So we went the route of saying, okay, well, we're gonna start putting the wheels in motion, so if we have to do something on our own, we have the process already in place to do that. So that is why we have a chief of police. The other side of that is that if you don't know, we recently transitioned to our own Steel Valley School District owned and operated security guards. If you've ever gone to any sort of contracted security company, anything, you know that the quality of what you're getting is not great. We weren't getting good quality. We were having staffing problems and stuff like that. So we decided that we would take what we were getting from our previous, I think we had 4 or 5 contracted security companies in a few years, and we brought the quality employees in as Steel Valley School District employees. However, we didn't have anyone on staff that felt equipped to manage them or know how to set that up or structure that department. So we hired the chief of police. I think we have a very good person in that position with Chief Parker. Obviously, Munhall Borough is very familiar with him. So we are set up that if we were to get a grant, we could put cops in our schools tomorrow. We have grants out there to do that. We just have nothing awarded in. So if we get to that point, we can. But as we've said, we just want to work hand in hand with the boroughs to make sure that we have that jurisdictional issue. So we have a Steel Valley School District police officer with a municipal police officer to handle everything the way it needs to be done.
Now, the school district, if the school would have a school police, they don't have the complete authority to cite all the things that the Munhall police would have. Or
Yeah, that's I don't know everything that they can't do. I know the big things they can't cite because they're not in their jurisdiction. Or Steel Valley School District police don't necessarily have a jurisdiction. Right. And the chief could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that's kind of what it is. Like
they can arrest for summaries.
Yeah, so anything of any significance they can't handle. We still need the municipal SROs to handle truancy. Basically everything that they do. They're doing now that Officer Bomey or Officer Fawnawaz are doing for us now, they would still have to continue to do those things. Our officers are only just there. The reason why they're really police officers at that point is so they can be armed and act as a police officer if something.
A deterrent.
Yeah.
Right.
And as far as jurisdiction, there's nothing that either borough could do for the jurisdiction part. You could do a mutual aid agreement. You could have an officer, a West Homestead officer in Park School, but they have no arrest powers. They would have to detain somebody, call the Munhall police. We would have to go there and do the citing, or the arrest, cite, traffic ticket, whatever.
That's not a problem, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you're paying for a police officer and you're getting basically a security guard.
Yeah, but there's situations where, I know that's not the case, there are municipalities that don't have their own police department. I can tell you, Wilmington Borough contracted Pitcairn Borough Police Department. The mayor's sworn in all the officers and they have full authority.
I cannot go to West Homestead, I cannot go into Homestead and arrest somebody.
I understand that, but I'm saying I think legally arrangements could be made to provide that authority.
I'm 100% against that. 100%.
I have a question. So, Steel Valley High School and Middle School, the students are coming from Homestead, West Homestead, Munhall. Our police force, Munhall, is in there paying. Munhall tax people are paying the police salary, but the kids from Homestead and West Homestead are getting the benefits and their tax basis.
We get reimbursed by the school district.
So Munhall does
get
get some
reimbursed.
type
School
of
district pays us.
reimbursement for it.
And are you sure it's only 50% or is it 9 months we get? Because I was under the impression we get 9 months.
I'm not sure. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, I was under the impression we get 9 months.
Yeah, I tried to find the.
When school ends in June, then the borough, assumes the rest of the time.
I wasn't able to quickly find the agreement, and whatever it is, that's what we pay.
If you could check into that too, David. Because I always thought it was 9 months.
If I could just comment on her comment there, yes, the school district is in Munhall. Yes, there are kids from all 3 municipalities that go to school there. But there's this thought, I've seen it on social media, that Munhall Borough is paying for these kids that are coming from other school districts. It's no different than if they went to Kogo's and got arrested, or if they went to Lowe's Home Improvement and got arrested. It is a building and facility that just happens to be in Munhall. And regardless whether the police officer is stationed in that building or not, those police officers in the Munhall Police Department are still responsible to handle those police duties that happen in that building, whether they're stationed there or not. So I just wish the public would quit delineating this disagreement or this boundary between the municipalities, because it's constantly us versus them, and these kids are from there, but we're paying for them here, and vice versa, and back and forth. And it doesn't make a difference whether it's a school, whether it's the library, whether it's a building in the waterfront. If there's people there, the police department in that municipality is responsible for handling the police work in that municipality.
It's just like the fire company.
Yeah.
Mutual aid, they're working together.
Yeah, Munhall Borough Fire Department answers every fire call at Park School because it's in Munhall.
Right.
And Munhall Borough Fire Department answers every fire call.
And if
at
there was a
Steel Valley
major
High School.
fire
They would all
in
be
Park
there.
School, I'm sure Homestead Fire Department would be there, and I'm sure West Homestead Fire Department.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone knows we had to cancel school for HVAC issue. Well, that was actually brought in by the fire alarm because of the freon leak and it set
Right.
the fire alarm off. Homestead and West Homestead Fire Departments were there. I mean,
There you
it's
go. There you go.
just the way it works.
Right.
It's municipal agreements.
Agreed.
Let me make one point clear, because I think the one thing to check, it is, the police fill out time cards and provide them to the school. And it was, I don't know if it included the benefits with that cost or not.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
I know that was supposed to be in the last MOU. Okay, so if the salaries and benefits are covered, okay, in theory, okay, it is the number of hours that are turned in that the school district is responsible to reimburse. And there's a separate, there's line items in the budget that you can go look at from there. So we went from a limited chart of accounts to a full set of chart of accounts right there. So that's one of the improvements that was made during the previous borough manager. There is the delineation of expenses and revenues, so you can tick and tie the numbers back. You couldn't do that before. Thank you.
Yeah, I was able to find the agreement we have with Homestead, and like I said, I believe that it is an identical agreement. It says, the school district is responsible to pay the hourly rate of the SRO for which the district shall make payment to the borough, shall be the base rate of pay plus the cost of benefits which is applicable to the officer assigned to the SRO, as set forth from time to time in any collective bargaining agreement between the borough and, this is Homestead, but what's it, Munhall? Yeah.
I can tell you, because I talked to Chief Fuller, we just, finally, I approved legally the memorandum of understanding, and we calculated internally, I don't, the chief with the manager, and it's supposed to include all the costs, all the expenses, so it's an accurate reimbursement. So it's a lot more than just an hourly wage that the officer gets. And I talked to Tom about it, and that was determined. So that's correct.
If Dan, and I don't know how the school board will look upon this, I mean, if we don't have the resource right now to get an officer in there every day other than 3 days a week, if I would okay the chief overtime, would the school be able to reimburse us those Monday and Tuesdays, the overtime fee?
I would have to talk to the board, obviously, because that'd be a change to the MOU, and I can't make that decision.
At this point, I'm also actually thinking, if we can't get it, I want to offer overtime on Monday and Tuesday, chief. I just asked the chief a note, actually, telling him I was going to do that, say this, but just came up tonight, with the discussion. It was a very good discussion at this meeting, and that is something that I would like to look into, is if we can't do it, can I put an officer in there Monday and Tuesday for overtime, because we do need people on the streets Monday and Tuesday.
I mean, we're only assuming the cost for 3 months of this officer, is all we're doing,
And just to add to that, if the officer who's on heart and lung, and that's resolved, the whole issue becomes a moot issue, because we'll have someone else that we'll have the funds to put someone else in there.
Yeah, we do, but we also, we're short Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday on all 3 shifts. So I was thinking,
You need 2 officers.
if we could get him back or his spot back, I could do like a split shift, like 11 in the morning till 7 at night, and that will cover daylight and half of 3 to 11.
You lost me there a little bit. So if we got the,
If we got,
if the funds from the officer that's on heart and lung, and that became available in our budget, and we hired another police officer, that wouldn't suffice then?
well, it would, if we could just replace Darren, who's already in the budget, and that way I could put someone in the school full-time, and I could put someone in that officer's spot on daylight. But I'm still short Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So if we could get that officer back from heart and lung, or he doesn't come back and we get somebody else because he's still budgeted, then I have a spot for him to help the schedule.
So really, we're looking for 2 officers.
Well,
We're looking
well,
to
one's already,
recruit.
he's in limbo right now, but if he comes back, then I have a spot for him.
So
If he doesn't come back and we hire somebody else, I still have a spot for him.
Okay.
The schedule's still not where it needs to be.
Right now, as it stands, I mean, on best case scenario, we have 21 officers on right now, and that includes the chief and the assistant chief. So if, does that does not include the guy on heart and lung, right?
That does include.
It does include, okay, so we're paying 21 officers right now. So you take away the guy on heart and lung, we're down to 20. You take away somebody that we lost, Derek, we're not paying that spot right now. But the chief has a schedule problem. On best case scenario, he could schedule 19 people if everyone is here. We'll take out one with the guy on heart and lung, that takes us down to 18. And we've never had a shift, never had, since he's been chief, a time when nobody has not been off, he tells me. So every time there's, 1 or 2 people off. We do have,
When you mean 1 or 2 people off, what's that mean?
they're off on disability.
We can never control that.
No, you can't.
Right. You can never control.
But we have, 2 detectives who basically are not on the street. So that takes us down to 16, right? So,
Chief,
18.
so would it be possible for the 2 days for Park School, we could put Officer Snyder?
He does not want that position, and he would have to get recertified anyway. He's been gone for almost 3 years, and he would have to make up 3 years of updates, but he doesn't want it. The president made that offer already, when I talked to Scott, and he doesn't want it.
Chief, would the goal be to put Officer Bonawaz in the school Monday through Friday, and then you're actually looking at filling the weekend shifts that
Yes.
Officer Bonawaz works, not the Monday, Tuesday shifts? The Monday, Tuesday shifts would be filled by Officer Bonawaz and transfer that vacancy to Officer Bonawaz's shifts at the end where he's at now.
So if I would take Ponawaz in full-time Monday through Friday, I'm taking him off of daylight, so I need an officer to fill in where he used to be.
So Wednesday through Sunday.
Yes.
Based on the discussion, you've got 21 total, minus 2 in management, take 19. You have an open position because of a death,
We have 23 right now.
23 total, that's where we're starting.
We have detectives as well.
Okay, so just work the numbers back.
We have 23, got you, okay.
Okay,
So it takes
so now
that-
you're at
sorry.
21 minus 4. So you have 17 available resources across the course. I mean, this conversation you guys should have in an executive meeting.
Absolutely.
You guys would go through. But if the numbers are to that, which I have no reason not to believe, having 4, think about it. Basically, he's down a little over 20% of his workforce. Okay, and how he's filling it in just through overtime. That's significant. So you should have that discussion in an executive meeting.
I'm not mentioning names and personnel individually, though. We're just talking numbers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm taking all the personalities out of it.
Right.
It's just, it's a schedule.
It's a
There's no
Exactly.
personality in the discussion. It's a numbers discussion to fill a schedule. And putting the right people on the schedule, obviously. So,
Chief, how many overtime shifts do you fill a week?
Probably 1 to 2 a week.
So not all the openings are being filled by overtime?
No. I try to move people around that I can move around. Sometimes they're just short shifts. Yeah, I try to watch overtime the best I can.
I believe we are under budget on overtime at this point for the year, or overtime is under budget.
Crime is up.
What about police salaries? Is that under budget?
It should be because
Benefits
we
and
lost an
salary.
officer. So yeah, we should be a little bit under budget.
Just a question, does that mean that it's Munhall's position that they wouldn't be filling these 2 days at the school because of a budget issue, despite those 2 line items being under budget?
Our position is, how much are we gonna have to raise taxes? Because when this all comes into next year's budget, we'll get through this year, but next year, our budget is gonna have to be raised, and where are we gonna be at? And that's the ultimate question. The ultimate question always comes back to safety. We have 3 officers in the school 3 days a week. We have an officer in Park School 3 days a week. We have an officer full-time in the high school and middle school 5 days a week. We have backup police that work around the school, and when they're working, they're patrolling around the school, and they're taking extra effort to make sure things are going on when no one's in the school. The question has been brought up, and it's still, no one wants part-time. Everyone would like to have a full-time officer, but a part-time police officer, if you put whoever officer is gonna be going into Park School 5 days a week, then a part-time police officer could fill in his schedule. And that was a simple question that we worked out. Obviously, it's hard to get part-time people to take a position like that. It's hard to get people to take any position as far as the police department goes. So, you know, it's up for discussion, and it needs to be discussed so that we know where we're gonna be at financially, because if we're running a $200,000 deficit right now, what's it gonna be next year?
Well, with the Lowe's reimbursement, it's gonna get worse.
And the wages are gonna go up more next year as well, so that's gonna be worse. So next year it's gonna, you know, you're gonna have more you're gonna have higher wages.
And you do more tax appeals also.
And so council's duty is to really see how the finances are going to be and how things are gonna be. That's our duty. Our duty is to make sure everyone's safe in the borough, absolutely. We have a great police department, we have a great fire department, our public safety crews are out there working, our public works are out there working. We have a great town, it's a good town, we need to keep it that way. But we also have a financial, you know, obligation, whatever you want to call it, to make sure the town is run properly. We certainly don't want to extend ourselves to the point where people can't afford to live in their homes because the taxes are going to be so high. I don't know what the consequences is, and I've asked Dave that, and we've talked about it. Where are we going to be at with you know, next year's budget? And he hasn't really had the time to really work on that yet. In fairness to him, he's just new on the job. He's trying to find everything. He's trying to put everything in order and give us the right information. It's not fair to him to say, we need this right today.
And what we're gonna be at when the residents start moving out, and we have all renters in the community, because they're tired of getting robbed, the cars broken into, crime becomes an issue, because we're short-staffed on the street, and we don't have nobody out there, because we have 2 guys working, we have an arrest in the police station, so now you have 1 guy on the street by themselves. What are we gonna do then? Say, well, we saved you on your taxes, but now you have nothing in your house. So then your homeowners goes up, your vehicle insurance goes up. I mean, it's 3 months of the salary that we are paying. You know, If the guy would have taken the job in April, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now, because he'd already been on the job working and across the board. We would never be having this discussion right now.
Well, this bond rating thing just came up with me the last 2 weeks. That's a real concern.
Correct.
The bond rating's big.
My concern is the crime that's going on, that we do have crime. It's not high that we don't have crime in one.
Well, if our bond rating drops, what's your idea for that?
I don't have an idea for it yet. What is your idea for it?
My idea is not to proceed with more expenses at this time.
Can I make a suggestion? So, in the discussion with the bond rating company, typically bond ratings, the bonds are callable.
Right.
The real question asks the bond company right there, if the rating, when a bond rating goes down, it's your ability to get money and what percentage you pay, okay? So, if you do not have a lot of capital, things you're gonna, like if you would want to, unless you had cash, because everything from an accounting standpoint with government is a cash basis, okay? There's no depreciation. How they recognize revenue is different than, say, a nonprofit or a profit. So, the reality is to ask the bond company if, and I believe Seth can verify this and David should also, was the fact, if the bond rating went down, is the bond callable, okay?
How's that determined?
Well, when a bond is callable, they call.
It's degraded?
You have to pay
You
them.
have to go get another bond at a higher rate.
You have to
okay?
pay them. That's what.
Right. I do not believe the bond is callable itself, but Greg and certainly the borough manager, and I would, Seth, is to have that discussion with them from the standpoint, if you look at it, if you have a part-time police officer, if you look at head count, typically what head count has in the number of employees. If the bond company is looking at the head and do part-time employees count as part of the head count, I don't know if they do or don't.
They wanted a head count.
They wanted a head count.
We gave them a head count.
You gave them a head count.
I don't know that a part-time would be considered.
Well, it would be half. So if you have that case right there, I think you could put the circumstances associated with, balancing public safety with hiring a part-time person for a short period of time. The tougher decision, which we knew this already, was going to be the 2025 budget.
Right.
Okay? So the reality would be right there, after a good discussion is held with the bond company and say, hey, we have some extenuating circumstances, is the fact, here's what we're going to do temporarily. We plan to raise revenue next year, which there's only one way to raise revenue. You can increase real estate taxes, which make up 4.6 million. Over 1/3 of your revenue coming in the door comes from real estate taxes. Okay, so it's huge. The only other thing is to charge more for services like permits and things like that, which would require you to work with Greg to do that type of thing.
Yep. Garbage, everything.
Well, if it's due that year, I mean, if you have an extended contract, you've already agreed, well, that's different.
Right.
But after those conversations, if you have temporary right there, and then probably the bigger thing, so being that there's no one-time revenue source, if you're able to do, you're probably gonna have a difficult time this year, but if you prove to them going into next year, that would be better.
Mr. Shields, you said you gave the bond company a head count. Did that head count for the police, was it 23?
Yes,
So
I believe so.
That was the second day, I can't remember.
That I can't, Tim Little was here, the chief was not here. I don't believe what the head count was on the police.
My point on that question
We're
would be that if
confused
you.
here already this evening on the head count.
Yeah, I get
can't
you.
remember from
I
that.
know. My point would be that if the head count that was given to the bond rating company was 23, you're not at 23 now. So the concern of adding a position, you're not adding a position, you're filling a position. So by hiring an officer and to fill that spot, you're still gonna be at 22. So the bond rating company isn't gonna look at it and say, you are adding a position over what you told us you had. you're still below that, in addition to the person that's on her hard line.
Right.
So,
No, they would not do that. They would look at, you know, the status, is that person an employee of Munhall Borough? If that person's still on the payroll, they're part of the head count,
No.
whether they're paid or not.
but we have Officer Cherrick, who is deceased, who's not on the payroll.
You could take that away.
That's what, well, that's
If
really,
that's what you're referring
that's really
to.
the question that
I just don't know what the head count was.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the head count that was given included Officer Cherrick, because that's the position that the police department
It
has.
did not include
It
it.
would not include.
I don't think it did.
No.
23, if I'm not mistaken, 23 is what we're at right now with the chief, with the assistant chief.
The head count's just is an easy barometer if you're on.
Yeah, just so they know that
Okay.
you're not.
Right, but they're really looking at your expenses and revenue, and they're trying to understand, right there, are your expenses and revenues balanced? Are you looking at, right there, are you trending in the right direction? Which is why one-time revenue sources, they exaggerate your revenue, so you look better than what you already are. In nonprofits, not government, it would seem, because it's all about the GAAP rules associated with whatever that is. And for everybody, GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles, and there's a book about that thick if you want to go look at it.
The question was asked, we plan on adding any more to the payroll this year? He did ask us that also.
Did you answer them in full-time, did you answer them in writing?
Didn't answer anything in writing, no.
Just a discussion.
Discussion. It's a conference call.
Yeah, that's what it was before.
So honestly,
I didn't know.
there's been a lot of discussion on this right now, and we really haven't gotten anywhere on this issue. Do we want to vote on this, or do we want to table this until David Ty gets more information for us?
He doesn't have the information he needs right now.
I know that. That's why I'm bringing this up. That's why I'm saying, do we want to table this until next month?
Yes.
Until the next meeting, and then decide on, with more information, we can make a more informed decision? That's my question.
I talked to the manager before the meeting. I believe he'll be more
comfortable.
comfortable in a couple more weeks when he gets his numbers.
Okay, well, that's your one, so.
That's our way, that's what we do around here, we delay everything and just keep pushing it down the road. Someday the problem's gonna go away, just like our blight and everything else we have in this borough.
This isn't that.
We just keep pushing
I know
it down.
you're talking about, Tim, this isn't that though.
We're pushing, that's what we do, we push everything down the road. We push everything down the road. When I brought up that we should hire somebody, when that guy turned down the job, we pushed it down the road. And here we are in September, pushing more things down the road to October. And in October, we say, well, you know what, it's budget season, let's wait till next year.
So Tim,
And then, that's how we just keep pushing it down the road.
we haven't even gotten to the end of the discussion.
Well, you just said, what's
One
delayed?
person just spoke, and
Okay.
you interrupted everyone and had to speak up on your opinion. So, it's not just your vote.
You're correct.
It's
not
a
just my
council vote.
You're correct.
We all have to work in this together, and that's what we're trying to do.
And we do Rick's way, just push it down the road.
No, don't say that, it's not my way.
Rick's way, we'll push it down the road.
Oh, okay.
Mr. President,
Not
just-
appreciated.
Just
Bill.
curious.
Yes, sir.
I just want to be able to know, I apologize, I'd like to stay in chat, but I gotta get with my kids today. So if you guys do not decide tonight to hire an officer in any fashion, the arrangement for Park School will continue to be what we have now in place with Officer Bonner was Wednesday through Friday?
Absolutely.
As can be on Monday and Tuesday?
Yes. I'm planning on authorizing the chief to authorize overtime on Monday and Tuesday. And you may need some discussion with the board. We will submit something for payback for Monday and Tuesday. If there is nothing
I think
done, I will be on tonight.
Mayor, I think you put them in there all 5 days a week and put the overtime on Saturday and Sunday. And we'll just raise it up that way, which will cost us more in the long run.
I'll discuss
That's
that
all-
with the chief and
That's
see
what
how
we
that
do around
works.
here. Spend more
At
money in
this
the
time,
long
I'm
run.
gonna authorize overtime, how the chief can use it so someone is there 5 days a week.
I think the school district would prefer to have the same officer there Monday through Friday if possible. I think that's best for
I
everybody,
think
including the
you're right.
kids, if they can,
Yeah.
they develop a rapport with somebody, especially Officer Fawn was being new this year. So if he can be there 5 days a week, that would be much more appreciated than having a
Discussion with
random.
the chief, how we can best make it.
Also, you know, there's the issues of making sure that the officer that's there is SR
Whether we got a
certified.
new officer or not.
But
Chief, want a part-time officer, you're not for a part-time officer?
Not really.
No, no.
The problem is the caliber of officer you're gonna get, we can't get full-time officers. Nobody wants to be a policeman. Everybody's hiring full-time. It's very, I don't know when we're gonna get a part-timer, to tell you the truth. I really don't.
And from the chief, you discussed, the part-time salary is very low for what most part-time officers are making right now, right?
Yeah, it
We
has.
would have to actually raise the part-time salary probably to attract.
Do we even have a
Somebody
part-time salary on our books?
We do.
We do?
Yeah, it hasn't been adjusted for probably like 20 years.
So what we offer the part-time salary, that would have to be changed to attract an officer even to take a part-time position here.
We could do that, but that's not the objective. I mean, I think it would be an answer that could work for us for a while, a time, but that's the chief's department. The police, we don't run the police department. Council, we work with the police department, but we don't tell the chief what to do and how to run his schedule and what's
Well, that's the
involved.
mayor.
The mayor and the chief of police, that's their duties. And we're certainly not trying to step on your toes or do anything, but we're trying to find out how we're gonna spend, how are we gonna pay for this? And what's it gonna cost us? So I'm just gonna, we'll go through here, and when it comes time for, this first discussion here, make a motion, I'm gonna motion we table this. And then I'll ask for the table motion. Is that how it's done?
Yeah, you can make someone can make a motion.
Table, okay.
Typically, it's not you.
Right, I can't make a motion, I can't.
So I'm confused, is council then committed to 5 days a week at Park? Is that what I'm hearing in some?
We're not sure yet.
So we're not sure if we're gonna have.
It's our kids'
That's
safety,
the
Brad, they don't
council.
care about that.
That's the chief and the mayor's call
I'm
right now.
committed to 5 days a week.
Okay, so that
And that's
potentially.
why I said I'm gonna work with the chief on offering some overtime to get that done at this point. And we'll have to look at the budget, and if the budget seems overtime isn't making sense, it would be better sense to hire full-time, maybe that's what council will see.
Yeah.
We'll spend 100 solid to say 10. That's what we do around here.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next line item here. Adopt an ordinance to join the Tri-Cog Land Bank. I don't know what the costs are to join the land
I
bank.
can give you some updates on that.
Can you do that?
I
Because
can.
there were questions about
There
that
were.
last week.
So I
Go
ran,
ahead, Dave.
I ran the numbers, so the annual fee for the, to join the land bank is 5% of the average of the previous 2 years' delinquency collected in the previous 2 years. So for example, it would calculate for 2022 and 2023, the amount of money that was collected in those years.
Is collected delinquent?
Delinquent. So basically, whatever was, so for example, 2023 delinquent taxes were collected in 2022.
Okay.
So basically, it's the last 2 years of delinquent taxes collected. So an average is about, I can rerun the numbers, but I'll give you a rough idea of what it's going to cost, so I can give you almost exact.
Okay.
So it's basically, between the 2 years, one is about 350,000, the other one was about 520,000, and it averaged out to be, let me just do it real quick here.
So is it 5%
5%
of the
average of the previous 2 years.
that were collected?
Yes.
Not delinquent. And
No,
never- and
delinquent.
Delinquent that were collected, but not totally delinquent, that were never collected.
No, yeah, exactly. The delinquent that were.
So it's not like you're paying tax, you're paying this 5% on monies that we never got back into the.
So for example, from starting January 1st, 2023, the money that was collected in 2024.
Okay.
It's a little confusing, sorry about that. Yeah. So it's basically the money that was collected for 2022 and 2023. The total for 2023 delinquent taxes is $528,619. And for 2022 taxes, the previous year is $365,919. That's how much people pay the year late for their taxes.
Wow,
$22,000 late calculated
22 grand.
for this year. It would go up and down, but basically it's calculated for the previous 2 years, so it will slow, it'll be about 20,000 until, I mean, it could drop, but the 20,000 probably what we could look at as the average.
Okay, and then that would be, just saying that would be our yearly fee that we would pay.
Yes.
And then, from what I understand, so, say they take 3 or 4 properties.
Mhm.
They get them back on the tax rules, then they take half of the tax
For 5 years.
for 5 years of our tax. Is it the school tax as well?
Yes.
So they take half the school, half the county, and half the
That's why both the school
municipal.
district and the municipality have to be in this program to collect, to join it.
Okay.
So, I mean, we do just rough numbers, but, assume it's $100,000 and you're collecting, 4,000?
335,000 or something.
So you're basically at half of whatever we're collecting for the next 5 years. So the cost is the actual fee, annual fee, and then half of the tax rate. So it could be some like $35,000.
Maybe. Depends on how many they take and how many they rehab and how many they get going.
But the other thing is you'd also then get the
Tax money.
tax money that you would otherwise not be getting unless you sold the property for sheriff's sale. So sheriff's sale is the other option. So actually put some more money in the budget for sheriff's sale, get those things sold through that process. That's $5,000 per property, roughly. Then you can get them 100% of the tax roll back.
So that was another question I had on this whole process. So the land bank, they can step in and say, we want to purchase this property. They don't have to go through the sheriff's sale process.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that whole process.
And can we do the same thing? Can we step in and say?
We don't have the staffing to do that. We can do the sheriff's sale process of that, we didn't get people to go buy it through that process, but any kind of renovation of the land bank, we don't have the ability to do that, or it also costs them money from us.
Agree, but in Munhall, in Homestead, in West Homestead, there are contractors that will buy buildings and they'll buy them, they want to acquire them, they don't want to put their money up, they want to buy them. So if we had a group of guys that said, hey, we like this building, we like this building, we like this building, can you get them for us? Could we go in and purchase them?
Well, that's a little complicated.
That's what I don't know.
Well, we can't be a land bank. There's legislation that creates land bank.
Okay.
It started 10 years ago. It was stagnant for a long time, and now the county's moving forward in some of these local.
So we can't do what a land bank can do?
No, cannot.
Okay.
And Dave is right, you can share sell properties, we're limited. The borough could purchase any property it wants to. If there's a property we think's attractive, under the borough code, we're allowed to buy a house. You can buy a house and do the same thing that an investor's doing.
If it's tax delinquent, we just pay the back taxes?
We get them forgiven.
We would have them forgiven?
Well,
So then we could do
you'd have to
that.
get them to school, would have to agree to that, the county.
Kind of
Yeah. The borough's not really in the business to
I know that.
flip properties.
I know
That's
that.
not what we do.
I know.
Tim,
I know.
I have a question for Tim. Do you know if the land bank process is part of what Braveheart is doing in Homestead?
No,
They're not?
he's buying everything and.
He doesn't participate with the land bank?
Nope, what he buys and he goes and asks for, forgiveness on his taxes after he buys it. He sees, so, school district gives him one sum and they don't get one others. But when he's like that 1501 West Street, it was nothing. Now it's assessed at like almost $600,000. So it's why wouldn't you forgive, taxes on that you didn't get for 15 years? But he puts a lot of money into everything. He takes a risk on everything that he buys, hoping that somebody would forgive his taxes. So he takes a risk, and there's a lot of people taking risks on him, but they're getting them, trying to turn around. I think the land bank's a good idea. It's a back on the tax rules. I mean, we're paying $20,000. If you pay the $5,000, for each property that we would go to the sheriff's sale, you're right there. You're getting 4 properties. So, what's the difference? You're getting 4 properties at sheriff's sale, they may buy 4 or 5, through the land bank, they deal with the paperwork, they deal with everything. It's less work for Dave than anyone else.
They may not but take any that year too.
They may not.
That's right.
But they said that we have properties that they would like to look at.
But Jim, they also, when I asked Ann how much it would cost to do this, she said 5,000.
That's the average
And-
for most municipalities. We seem
Yeah,
to
but
collect
I
a
mean,
lot
that's
more
what she said.
delinquent taxes
And
than
now
other
we hear it would be
municipalities.
20,000.
Well, we gotta
Once
thank-
again.
Thank our
you know,
residents for
it's
paying our
what you
taxes late. We gotta thank them, and at least they're paying their taxes late or not. I mean, we're getting that money coming in, so yeah, it's gonna cost us a little bit more, but if we spend $20,000 on sheriff sales, you're still out 20 grand. And then they take the responsibility, which is gonna be a good owner, so they're taking all that responsibility.
No.
We put them on sheriff sale, she was just here, she said that.
If,
They make sure it's gonna be a good owner for the property.
oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we put up a sheriff's sale, anybody can buy it. Brad can buy it back there and be a slum landlord, and then we're in the same issue, I'm just saying, in general, I mean,
What you
that's
said
what
was
could
wrong
happen.
though.
The guy's
You
gotta have
said
grades.
if we put $20,000 and bought 4 properties,
We put sheriff's sale, if we sheriff's sale
if we
4
went down
properties,
and bought,
it'd be 20 grand. For
right,
us to go over sheriff's sale.
right,
But we don't know who's gonna buy the property at sheriff's sale, it can be anybody.
true.
Yeah, look at the guy I got next door.
Yeah, I mean, it could literally be anybody.
10 years.
But
never
the
went there.
20,000 would be reimbursed back to us. It would be,
Well, if you have a sheriff's sale, someone buys the property,
right.
you could get reimbursed.
You would be reimbursed.
Well, if someone buys it for the upset price, which is all the back taxes, but that, unless it's a very good property.
Oh,
you
well,
typically
you're enlightening me a
don't-
little bit.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking of that.
Yeah, what happens a lot with a sheriff's sale, you try to identify a tract of property, because if you run the sheriff's sale, and you have the back county taxes, back borough taxes, back school taxes, and the costs and fees of the borough or the school, whoever is paid to run the sale,
Mhm.
oftentimes that exceeds the true value of the property, and no one bids on it. And then if all 3 taxing bodies agree, then you can go to a second sale where all the taxes are forgiven. And you don't get your taxes back, although you may get the fees you paid to run the sale.
That's what I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You could, if you
Okay.
find someone interested to buy it. But you're giving up your taxes in exchange for then the hope that we'll be back on the tax rolls and someone will put it to good use. So,
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna, any other questions or topics about this? Sure.
I have a couple of questions. So, just the calculation, it was the delinquent taxes for the previous year, or is it an average of the last 2 years?
Average of the last 2 years.
So you would just take, it's $400,000 if you took it both years,
Yeah.
5%, so it'd be $20,000 itself. They would have.
Yeah, but the calculation would end up being 2,200.
Yeah,
It's rough.
just around it, simple math. The other thing to take into consideration is you have that time period in which it has to go through that process, which takes about a year. So if you look at it, if everything works out well, okay? And, so they have 3 years, so just take 1 year. They have 3 years to fix it up before it gets back on the tax rolls. So you could be going into the 5th year before you see anything, technically. But that's why the borough manager has to forecast all of those things associated with it. There's a lot of upside to it, but there's some downside. The downside's time. On the other side of the coin is, the other thing that they mentioned right there is if you need Act 152, something needs to be demolished, and she said the special things that she talked about, where you had one property and you had blank land beside it, or if it made sense, they would, 2 adjacent properties, then they put, and you can look at the report, they've done that. But I guess the other question I have, so you have the agreement from the land bank. Has the borough solicitor reviewed the agreement yet?
I've just,
Okay, so the other thing is you also have to have an ordinance, okay, which needs to be reviewed. their time period was you had to join next month. Okay, so you have a very short time period itself, and you don't, time is not on your side.
We have to advertise an ordinance.
What's that?
An ordinance would have to be advertised, you couldn't.
Yeah,
vote
for
on
30
it tonight
days,
anyway.
you've got 30 days. So if you just look from the timeline standpoint, what you can do at this point would be to have the solicitor review it, work with the land bank around the properties, and forecast, if everything went well, your cash flow associated with it. Okay, so you've got more work to do itself. I mean, I didn't expect that in this short period of time that you would be able to make this decision. That would be impossible.
I agree.
So, I think it should be with the role, and, you know, you've got the planning commission, which I think has a huge role in this. Huge role, right there, in developing a strategy associated with it. And I'll be honest with you, I think this is the role of the planning commission more than it is the role of the council to develop this. It really should be the planning commission, along with the borough manager. The role of the council is an executive role for them to present to you around that. The rest of the strategy of the borough that hasn't been done, yeah, that's definitely working with the department managers or everyone. So, I mean, I don't think anybody should be disappointed that you couldn't come to a decision on this in that very short period of time. So, this is being very fair about it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move down to the next discussion on motion to update zoning in the R2 to be able to change buildings to designated apartments.
Just a question on that last discussion. So it's Munhall's position then, from that discussion, that what I'm hearing is that there's not a chance to join the land bank.
Well, it still has to go to a vote to council.
Right,
We're gonna discuss that and go to vote on it and see. I'm not speaking for any other councilman. However they wanna vote, they can. I think we need a little more information, but that's just my opinion. We'll find out how far it goes, and it's not the end of the world.
So then my follow-up question to that would be, what is Munhall's current plan on addressing blight and remediating blight?
We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and we're still working on that. We have a lot of properties. There were 77 that we put out at the last meeting, which you attended to at, and we're working on many alternatives. The land bank is not the only way to resolve blight. Code enforcement is a big way that we can involve cleaning up neighborhoods. So,
So
we have a lot of work to do.
So there's not a plan.
There is a plan.
So that's what I'm asking.
The total plan is not just one thing, okay? It's a big mutual arm here. We have Dave Cannon, who's our zoning officer. We have ordinances that are already in place. We have vacant properties. We have properties that we'd like to get back on the tax rolls. We have properties that people are living in that are pretty deplorable. So, you know, what are you calling blight and what is blight? Vacant properties? Because the list of 77 was vacant.
With back taxes vacant.
Right. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, my question is, so what is the plan to address that?
Well, I've tried to answer that several times with you, so you keep asking me the same question, but, you know.
And I guess that's why I'm hearing is, there's not a plan, as of right now.
No, you weren't at the meeting then?
I was at the meeting, yeah.
Okay.
At the meeting, I believe there was a decision to join the land bank.
No.
And that's not happening. It sounds like that's not gonna happen.
That's not true. You're misspeaking.
It was in the meeting minutes, so anyone can check that.
I don't think it was in the meeting minutes that we were gonna join the land bank.
There was a proposal.
I was at the meeting.
To clarify the statement, what I said in the meeting was serious discussions with the land bank should be held to see if there are opportunities to join it. So, and the other request was the fact that for the council to meet with the land bank. So in last week's borough working meeting, they came and did a presentation.
Exactly.
So in fairness to that's, you know, Brett, I'm not being mean-spirited.
No,
That's not what I asked for. I just said for serious consideration. But I do think a fair question is, right there, is that in developing a strategy, you've had one meeting, okay?
One meeting, and
There's
this
a lot of work
is
to
the
do.
9th month of the year.
Correct.
One
You got
meeting.
budgets, you got a lot of things. I think a fairer question would be, and you have a new borough manager,
We do.
okay? Is a fair question would be to say, can you give an estimate on when between, which I suggested with the planning commission, the borough manager, the code enforcement officer, right there, meeting, when do you think that you could have a draft strategy? I mean, that should take months, 2 to 3 months to come up with a strategy. I mean, mostly because you've got, really, you have, as far as full-time employees working on it, you have 2, but that's not their only job, okay?
We know.
And the reality is, it will take months to do it. I think to satisfy people, and, you know, the update could be the next month's meeting, to where, based on the next actions that were there, which were defined and Brad put in the note itself, would be to sit there and say, here we are a month later, and here were the next actions from the last meeting. So in developing a strategy, can we at least put together a straw man for a timeline? And I think that's a fair question. That, you know, that could be as part of, when you meet internally, to develop. Okay? At least, and it's a straw man. It's not like, okay, if you say, oh, we'll have something by, you know, December 1st. It's not like, oh, if you show up on December 1st, you don't have it, everybody is like, you know, upset.
What have you been
It's a
doing?
straw man.
But didn't
That's
that
what I'm
lady,
doing. I'm actually trying to make it right there so it's, you can be successful at doing it.
So what is our plan for Blake?
but Ian said we only got till the end of October to sign up.
Dave Youngkins is the chairman. What is his plan?
Dave, you still awake?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your plan for Blake, since we have a plan? What was that, Mike?
We were looking into things, the land bank and everything else.
Okay.
There's your answer.
I mean,
So there's a lot, getting back to a real answer, there's a lot that needs to be done, and there's a lot of ways that we can fight blight, and it's not gonna be just one, it's gonna be several different ways. You're never gonna defeat it with the land bank. The land bank is not gonna give us maybe 1 or 2 buildings a year, maybe, if we're lucky. And so if you're thinking that the land bank is gonna be an end to be it all,
No,
you're
my
wrong.
point- my
So
point
my
is-
point is, if we have a good code enforcement officer who goes around and we start nailing these things down a little bit, we're not gonna get worse. We have to pick at it and pick at it and pick at it. And there's several ways it can be done.
And that's my question, is what then are those other ways? Because right now,
I
let's say,
think, Brad, give
Well,
me-
there's
give me a second.
demolition,
So I
there's
think,
demolition, and then there's
Sheriff's sale.
sheriff sales. We can initiate our own sheriff
so
sale.
that's my question, is so what is the budget for Munhall to initiate sheriff sales?
You know
So the
answer.
question-
I gave you the answer.
what's the answer?
I don't.
I don't know the answer.
I emailed
Oh, I
you.
know, yeah, sorry, I do know the answer to that. I
For
apologize.
2024, there has been no budget for sheriff's sale.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for 2025.
I don't
Yes.
know the answer to it.
Sorry, I meant to ask my second question, which I asked you, which is this. How many sheriff sales has Munhall initiated this year
Yeah, I got
and last year?
I don't know that answer because.
So
I
if we're talking about being over budget, if there's no money for sheriff sales,
Then it's
and
not
we-
gonna happen.
well, but it has, so check the public record. Multiple sheriff sales have been initiated by Munhall Borough. So that's, I guess, where my question is, where are those funds coming from? How is that determined? Who's making those decisions? And my answer that I'm hearing is that, 1, there's not a plan, and 2, we just don't know the answers to that. And that's my concern. You know, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, but
You are putting everyone on the spot.
fair.
Fair. I'm putting
Yeah.
you on the spot. What are you doing about blood? What's
Oh,
your
I'm
thought?
actually doing a good bit.
Talk to
I
us.
think if
Tell
if
me.
you know me, you know that I'm doing a good
No, I
bit.
don't know you. Tell me.
I know. It doesn't matter. You're the council person. so-
I am the council person, and we're working hard here every day.
You
But
can
we
put me on the
have-
spot though, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's
You
fine.
can put me on the spot, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's okay to say that, you're not doing
We signed up for this,
anything
behind here, this is what.
Right.
We have,
And I guess that's what concerns me about not having a plan, is that if we can't admit that we don't have a plan, we're certainly not gonna set a timeline to create a plan. And that's,
Well, all I can say is we had our first meeting. I thought it was a pretty successful meeting. We had several ideas that were spoken about, and we're working on those ideas. And if that's not fast enough, I don't think it's gonna end tomorrow. Is that what you're thinking?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, with having a manager now, Dave needs to be with Dave and tell Dave his game plan, his goal, on what he expects from him every single day. You know, because no disrespect to Dave, but Dave comes in, we get this mediocre report every single month, and we have blight every single where. We have the same problems, you know, high grass, weeds, garbage, debris. I mean, we're putting the RP on here for everything for building permits for commercial and residential. I mean, we need to have one company so we know who we're going through every single time. When you apply for a building permit or commercial or residential, we're dealing with the same person, not just any Joe Schmo allowing them to come in and inspect our properties. I mean, that's how it starts. I mean, we gotta start there and start building forward. But Dave and Dave need to sit down, maybe under the direction of the council, and come up with a game plan to work on the blight. Does he need help? Does he need another person, you know, in the building during the day? Munhall's a big area. I mean, there's a lot of houses. Is there things that Dave needs? What does Dave need? Has anybody went to Dave and said, what do you need? That's something we definitely need to work on. You know, and it's our responsibility as council to hold Dave accountable so he can hold that Dave accountable. So we have to start there also. You know, it's our spot to hold everyone accountable.
Well, the problem is with blight, I'm going to make this real short because I know everyone's getting tired. For one thing, our municipalities and the school districts wait way too long to start the sheriff sale process. That's one problem. The first problem is, I thought it was 2 years, I heard now it's 3 years. If you don't pay your taxes, you can start the sheriff sale process. Costs $5,000 on the average. The school district, words from their solicitor, we'll wait till the borough starts the sheriff sale process. It costs money, we'll wait for them to start the process. All right, so these houses sat. All right?
A lot of the initiation was from the school district.
Right, okay.
Was started by them.
The second thing is the judicial system. It's hard to find people. You take someone to court and they don't show up. So what do? What do? You tell me what to do. You take the, like I said, I told 20 people didn't cut their grass, they still haven't cut their grass. I'm going to take another, in a month, they'll be going back to the magistrate. They're not going to show up again. And Greg will tell you, blight's everywhere. It's just not Munhall.
You can't put people in jail for not maintaining their property. That would be the only thing that really works. People get fined, they get a judgment, so many people don't care. That's the civil recourse we have against these property owners. And so they just don't care. So then what do? You take them to court and they don't pay, and we end up with a judgment against them. We could try to execute on the judgment. If they don't pay their taxes, we can't do sheriff's sale. These things are expensive. That's why the school says we don't want to do it. Everyone's looking at their budget. We can condemn houses, and we pay money to go tear them down. We have those legal tools, but it all costs money. So there's no easy answer. We do have tools, but they all cost money. How much can you afford?
I brought up 3 months ago about the house on Andrew Street. Have we figured out yet, do we have that money in the fire escrow account to go ahead and tear that house down?
What property is that, Tim?
The property 16 and Andrew.
That's right.
Was that house condemned yet? I mean, it's 3 years now. I've asked 3 months ago to start that process. Is that house condemned yet? Do we have the funds from the fire escrow account to tear that property down?
Okay, here goes a question for you, Tim. if we tear down that house, who's gonna maintain that lot? Okay, my first question. My second question is, Dave Youngkins has an interested buyer in that property.
I hate to
Would
see
you
it.
rather, I mean, here goes the question, guys. Would you rather tear down all these houses and you have zero money for the next 20 years? Or, I guess, I got beat up over by Rick Brennan, 102 21st Street, remember it? That house was deplorable condition, I'll tear it down, no one's gonna buy it. Someone bought it, it's a $185,000 house.
Those are far and few between.
No, there's a lot of them, Vern. There's a bunch of them.
So we have this.
There's a bunch of them.
We have this
And I'll bring Jesse
property.
Wiggin next week, or next month, and he'll tell you, he bought around 30 to 50 of them in the last 10 years.
The poor
And
guy,
fixed
the
them all
poor
up.
guy passed away, nothing has been done with the property. So we're gonna allow it to sit there and keep sitting there and keep sitting there, cause someday somebody may wanna come by and buy it. Try to find the next of kin. I mean, have we tried to find the next of kin?
The insurance companies. There's like a $400,000 insurance policy out
It's
there.
been 3 years. What I'm saying, it's been 3 years, and we aren't doing anything as a council or a code department to do something with that property.
Well, it's very hard to take a dead person to the magistrate.
I'm not saying take them to the magistrate. Obviously, we can't do that. But we have to do something to try to figure out the situation.
What do you suggest, Tim?
Tear down the
Let's
house.
try to find,
Tell me.
let's try to find the next of kin. We can't do that. We haven't condemned the property. It's been 3 years. It's an eyesore. It's definitely condemnable. We haven't done that.
You know it's condemnable?
I was in the fire, yeah.
Okay.
I was in there, yeah. So I know how bad the condition is on the inside.
Okay.
And I know what happens after a fire and there's a hole in the roof for 3 years. What happens?
It's as in the condition now, after 3
Yeah,
years.
so after 3 years. We have fire escrow money for it. So it's
Do
not.
we? Do we?
I was told we
We
had,
were told,
we were told we have fire
Did you ever
escrow money.
find out from Tim Little? He was looking into that.
Well, we have money in the fire escrow account, and depends on what,
It can only be assigned to the monies that were given from the insurance company for each property.
That's what I'm trying to find. So we have money in the fire escrow account, but we don't know which properties they're going to. So whose job is to do that?
I know one property, it's for Mercer, I want to say 310 Mercer. There's 17,000 that was allocated to that.
Was the house fixed?
It's being fixed.
Okay. So I mean, when the house is fixed, obviously that money has to go back.
That's
But that's one property that we know where the money comes from.
And there's $12,000 additional money.
So we need to figure out that property. You said there's a $400,000 insurance claim, but no one's fixing the house.
Because they can't, I guess they can't find next of kin.
Well, then
The insurance company will
that's
probably
why I
wait
asked you,
till.
what have we been doing for 3 years to find the next of kin?
You'd have to call the insurance company for that. I mean,
A lot of this, I think, is, a workshop session.
This whole
I mean,
agenda.
I'm not saying anything from the public, but a lot of this can be, I think, hashed
Well,
out.
that's your means here, Tim, is to argue about everything here.
It's my means.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
This is everything that we talked about last week, now we're talking about it again. For what reason? We have to come to you to approve the agenda.
I didn't approve the,
So you didn't approve all this on it?
no,
Who did?
I don't know.
I put it on there, and you guys I gave it to you on Friday, if you wanted me to take anything off.
I read it. I read it Friday. Did you read it Friday?
I did, so you were okay with everything saying?
I was okay with everything.
Okay.
But you wanna double question everything.
I'm not double questioning anything.
There you are.
Well, to Tim's point,
No, it's just,
I did check this, and
uh,
I was the one that posted the agenda on
this stuff
Facebook this
should
week.
be discussed in a work
Well, that's
session.
okay.
And
It was.
there are 1, 2, 3, 4 items for discussion that were not on that agenda.
Yeah, you
So-
posted, you copied a draft agenda.
Okay, but that was on Monday.
Monday?
Yeah. This is when I posted.
No, that was Friday. I put the drafted agenda on the website on Friday before I left.
Yes.
That was the drafted agenda.
Okay.
The final agenda does not come out until Monday evening unless there's changes that Solicitor Vaskovic approves for Tuesday. So
Okay.
the final agenda will never be on the
final
website
agenda should
until
be out
Monday.
Friday.
Yeah.
It should be out Friday. It should be out Friday. It should be out for everyone to look at. I know, I'm trying to move on, believe me, I'm getting beat up left and right here, but that's okay.
Wait a minute.
Can I have a quick question?
it's not on the topic of flight, just kind of gonna wedge this in here, but on the topic of property and strategy and everything, I'm with Katie Whitney on wanting to rent out the old Borough building. I understand that blueprints are missing or not able to be found at this moment, and you need that to move forward in, you know, deciding on what to charge as far as rent goes. But are there any other measures being taken to make sure that the building is sustainable for us to use in the meantime? We kind of just need to get some sort of gauge on, you know, our operation. I mean, we have obligations to our landlords, our staff, our clientele. We just kind of need some sort of direction on what's happening.
Well, I spoke with her first time yesterday. So basically, at this point in time, we're just working on trying to figure out the square footage requirements.
Right, I understand, but once we get to the point where we have the square foot requirements, is there anything being done in the meantime for us to even know if this building will be able to be used?
Well, no, because we're not at the point there yet. We basically, as of last week, we found out this was even a possibility. As of yesterday, I spoke to her for the first time. So basically 24 hours is what I'm operating on right now. So I haven't had a chance to try to figure out the space requirement, talk with the solicitor or with counsel about what the contract would even look like. So right at this point in time, we're just not at that stage.
We talk space requirements, what are we talking about?
A lot of space, most of the building.
You want to know the square footage of the building?
Well, yeah, I wanted to have the square footage of the building so I could actually give specifics for what they wanted to do, so we can do an actual.
Yeah, there has to be a lease agreement for anyone that's occupying borough space, and it has to describe the premises pretty certainly. There ought to be other provisions in there to protect the borough. You know, and you would see in a standard commercial lease agreement, whether there's rent, what the rent is. I mean, these are things I need. I'll make an agreement, but I need to know all those factors. And then council needs to tell me, yes, we want to do this, and then I'll make an agreement. That's the process.
Absolutely, I'm quite aware of that process. I'm just saying, say it takes 2 weeks to find the blueprints, but someone could go in there tomorrow and say, hey, the boiler is going to cost way too much money, we're not even going to bother. You know, like just
I
these.
don't know anything about those things.
Certain, that's what I'm asking. Are there any measures being taken to just make sure that it's even worth looking into?
I know Mr. Brennan had someone come in to look at the boiler. I don't know what could come of that.
We can ask them.
Thank you, that's what I'm asking.
They'll be glad to answer that question.
How much of the building do you plan on using?
So there's multiple operations that we are trying to make happen throughout the building. Mostly, you know, Katie Whitney wants to lease it for Steel Valley Wellness Group. I own Black Hat Yoga. I would like to be part of it. We have some other small businesses that are interested in joining in. I know that Munhall Cares wants a permanent address inside of that, as well as One Valley Free Store. So a lot of good can come to the community, and, you know.
We can't miss this opportunity.
Right, and you know, I mean, you guys clearly could make money off of it rather than it just sitting there. And I know that a lot has to happen.
The boiler needs a part put in it, and we need to get a mechanic there to do that. I spoke to someone earlier in the month. I asked him to look at it. He said he would. We can do that.
Has he looked at it? Not yet.
Not yet. I haven't. You know. I'll call him again.
If she has questions on the boiler, you were gone.
Well, Bob Bicey had a mechanic look at the boiler. He said it needed a part. I offered last week or whatever to have someone come in and look at it, and that's where we're at. I can get someone in there to do that, and call him again.
Thank you, that would be great. You know, anything that gets the ball rolling and gives us some answers so we have some sort of direction.
I had Bob turn the water on in the building, so the water is on to the boiler. I offered to work with him and fill the boiler up. That's what needs to be done first. and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Starting to clean the building?
I believe the garage has been cleaned out.
What about the spaces they're talking about leasing, the lease straight
I believe
out?
so.
There was asphalt or something all over
Have
the
you started
garage,
cleaning it up?
and then all their equipment's in there
Not much in it.
covered.
The building's pretty empty, and it does need cleaned, I'm sure vacuumed.
The
and whatnot.
garage has a lot of asphalt debris stuck to the floor, and that little room you were talking about that's right there,
Yeah.
that's full of,
There's stuff that
lawnmowers
needs taken
and
out of there.
yeah.
We know that.
Okay.
We know that, and I think that can all be done pretty quickly. I don't see that as accommodation, but, as a problem with accommodations. The square footage of the building shouldn't be that big of a deal. I think you could walk through there and measure out the rooms and get the square
That's what I was gonna say.
footage pretty quickly.
I can walk around a measuring tape, I can give you a number
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
We could walk through there and get that done pretty simple.
You don't need blueprints to do that.
No, you don't need blueprints. We need to know, what you all were looking for, because they say, oh, we want the whole building, we want the upstairs, we want the first floor. I don't know what you guys really want. And that's where I brought you to talk to the borough manager and to get some discussion going. And you just talked to her yesterday. So, it's,
But she's been calling since Wednesday, so, or,
Yeah,
sorry,
I got
before
the
that.
first call.
I know that you're very, very busy and everything. I'm not trying to say we should come before any other matters. I'm just asking, is a ball rolling? Do we have to wait on, this?
well, from
I know
what,
that we have to wait on this step of the square footage to compare market value and figure out what the number is. But I just wanted to make sure other things that could be considered in the meantime are starting to roll a little bit here as far as,
So-
say, is the boiler, is the plumbing okay, that kind of thing. Because what's the point if it's not?
absolutely, we can start.
Carol, I know when we met, remember the big meeting with Rob and Michelle, and me, Kevin, okay? And somebody said, can we be in here like October 1st? I'm just saying,
No,
I
didn't
think
ask
we
that.
all realize that is not gonna happen. I don't wanna think that you're asking where you have down in Homestead,
Yeah, I'm not involved with
Just so you know.
that end of it, I'm just asking for an office.
I know.
So when do you want to move into the building?
I would love to move in for October 1st, but if that's not doable, then that's not doable. But those are the kind of questions that I need answered so that I can
Well,
run
that's
my
what we
operation.
need answers to.
Yes,
So
when I
October 1st is what you're trying to shoot for?
I would love that, but if it's not doable, if it's not realistic, I
and
can
what-
always,
This is not the place to really discuss this. We don't know what kind of business you want to put in there.
Sure.
So all these questions need to be asked and talked about.
I would love to set up a meeting if anyone who I could set up a meeting with is available this week, tomorrow, tonight.
I don't,
No, I gotta
the
get
borough
that set.
manager is the man you need to speak with.
Yeah, we
He's,
can talk this week.
Sweet, awesome, thank you.
okay, good. We'd love to see you in the building, and we'd love to see
We would love
Munhall
to be
Cares
there,
in the
we
garage.
just need some sort of direction, we're hearing all kinds of different things.
I don't know what you're
being able
hearing
to
because
get in touch.
I don't know, so.
Sure.
Be patient. I think this council's committed to getting you in this building, as soon as possible. But,
Sure, and I
it's not
appreciate
gonna
that
happen
so much, we just
overnight,
needed to
but I
know
think
kind of what's
it's good.
happening.
I think they're committed to trying to work it out so Munhall Cares and that Katie, gets a fair number that she can get into this building.
Yes, I would love to answer all the questions you have.
I'm off tomorrow.
If there's any meeting that could be set up, I would love to answer those for you.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our next item of discussion here. Motion to update zoning in the R2, to be able to change buildings to designated apartments. So, this, I think, is a question on, are we spot zoning, doing something like this?
No, because what we'll be doing is changing the wording of the zoning ordinance to, right now, like, Greg could write in the ordinance that whenever there's a building in an R2 area, such as a school, rectory, or other size, big building, could be turned into apartments. And I think on the recommendation of the planning committee, as long as they have a parking spot for each apartment.
Okay?
Right, PJ?
This did come before the planning commission, we reviewed it. And pretty much it was, in order to alleviate some of the blight property, right, by having the schools just sit there empty. You know, having them turned into apartments, which is a lot of that seems to be the fad with, you know, old unused buildings. We wanted to make sure that there was enough parking spaces available to do so, so it didn't disrupt regular residential flow. So that was our recommendation from the planning commission to you guys to approve and move forward, so that way we can utilize St. Regis and get that back on the rules.
Any other questions? So would that be, have to be a specialized change to the?
That has to be an ordinance. I have to
It has
draft
to
an
be an
ordinance. I mean, Dave mentioned this to me briefly. If council wants to move forward with this, you would have to instruct me to draft an ordinance. I need to understand all the details. I just touched on it briefly with Dave, to know what they are thinking. I did hear the planning commission considered this. This has to be done by ordinance. And it does have to go to the planning commission, but I'm hearing that it already has. Has to be a public hearing before council. So this is the beginning stages before this council for this type of change. So I would need direction to draft an ordinance for council's review and ultimately an advertisement and a public hearing and then a vote for adoption.
Just to fill you in on that, there is an ordinance on that already. We just rechanged the wording. So
Who drafted the ordinance?
it's already on the books for the zone. So all we're doing is revising that to update it for the parking spaces.
So you want to amend the zoning?
Correct.
Okay, well, I
Makes it a
need
little
someone, well, assuming council's in agreement, someone has to get me all that information.
I can re-forward it, yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
That was what, 2 months ago, PJ? You guys met about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on then, because can we vote on that tonight?
Why can't we?
We can vote to authorize the solicitor
To draft an ordinance.
Okay.
An ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, and I'll get the information from PJ.
So we need to change this,
change the wording.
we need to change the motion then.
Well, yeah, it's basically motion to update zoning, so basically, we can change the wording slightly.
Okay, very good. Just asking, so, asking a question. All right then, so we're going to move forward to the handicap space for 811 East 11th Avenue. I'm sure, Chief, you've approved that?
Yes, I have.
All right, any questions on that, council? Okay, installation of a small book library by Ashley and Rowan Drystat to be installed in Woodhill Park. They were here, so I think the council was involved, are ready for that.
Did we see drawings of that?
I don't
No,
know.
we didn't get drawings.
We didn't get no drawings?
It's just a
I thought there was drawings, actually. They were engineered drawings.
Birdhouse.
Oh, you had drawings? Okay.
Yeah, I have it all.
No, it brought up before. I was just asking if we saw them
All right, so let's move on to the charging station. We talked about that. The installation of the electric charging stations for new garbage vehicles. The charging station is due to be delivered December. Is there a vote on that?
No, I just wanted to,
all right, we discussed that.
I have a question about that.
Oh, speak up.
Installed by our DPW employees, do we have someone that's certified to install?
No, we have to hire, and I said that earlier, we have to hire someone who can handle the hire.
If we just put on it as by our employees, I want to make sure we don't have.
Yeah, no, we don't have anybody who can handle
That's a lot of
We have to
money.
contract somebody, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to be having somebody.
Oh, yeah, no,
So I just wanna make sure
Yeah, yeah.
we are paying
I'll
somebody.
get some numbers and what it would actually cost, but yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so a discussion about the traffic light at 22nd Avenue and Main Street. This has been brought up by several people complaining. It's been on Facebook. I've had people call me and ask me about it. And I'm just revisiting this issue for the general public. The traffic light on 22nd Avenue is working sometimes, and sometimes you might sit there for 15 minutes and wait for the light to change, Chief. So I know that it was a pretty cost-effective measure to do the repair to this thing. Would you say it was $20,000 or something?
I believe it was Mr. Bicey, I don't know what it costs.
Bob?
It was 10,000 a couple of years ago,
So it's more than that today.
probably about 13, 14.
So, I mean, is the police, do they see it not working properly?
Sometimes we direct traffic. The only other thing we can do is put it on flash. That's all the police department can do. They
Well,
direct traffic or put it on
that
flash.
was another subject that was brought up. Could it be put on flashing signals there?
Yeah.
And could that be done during, is that a good way to handle that during rush hour? Or is it better to have a police officer direct traffic during rush hour? Or do you put stop signs?
Stop signs. Stop signs could work too, yeah.
We
Take the
can't-
lights
I
out,
don't
put stop
have,
signs.
always have a guy that I could
I
assign.
know that.
We're already short police.
Chief would look good with white gloves on, so.
We're already short police. We can't take away from the school, too.
Alright, so, I'm bringing it up, I brought it up a couple months ago as well. I don't know what the answer is, so.
It's technically a county road.
I agree with
I
that.
don't know if we should go to county and see if they could pay for it.
Well, I think, we can do that. But that's definitely an answer that could be done. Alright. So.
Is that for the light? The light is a county road?
So the discussion for bonding summary, you did cover that, right?
The last two items I already covered.
All right, good. All right, so we're good. So let's move on. Melissa, you want to read the expenses?
Sure.
Yeah, public
Can I make a
comments.
point? It's time for public comments technically, and I have a couple questions.
Well, you go right ahead, sir. Speak your name. What's your name and your address?
William Richard Hanna, 138 Carmel Drive, Munhall, Pennsylvania.
Go ahead, Bill.
The, I guess question right there, on the charging stations itself, there is a grant we're applying for, I saw, and it's part of the motion, so it's matching itself.
It would be, yeah, it would basically be, so we have roughly $200,000 of matching we have to apply from the borough to cover the grant, and this $90,000 could be applied towards that.
So is that for the trucks and the charging station?
Yeah, all together one.
For both?
Yeah.
Okay, so worst come, best possible case.
We'd have to pay $110,000 total for the
Okay,
project.
okay, that was the question. So the timing on paying on December 10th, when they show up with this charging station, they want paid a down payment at that point?
They want the outstanding payment, yes.
Okay, and then it's due, how many days net, or they're expecting due on delivery?
In the email, they said prior to delivery, I said upon delivery, we haven't hashed that out yet.
Okay, so, and that expense is gonna be approximately $50,000?
No, we've already paid 50 as a down payment.
Okay,
We owe 112 or 120.
okay, so they're expecting that,
Yeah.
okay, and that's an expense you're gonna forecast in December? Okay.
But to be reimbursed mostly, so.
The second question I have on the TCV stuff right there, so they're asking Greg for a construction bond, correct?
It's as part of the developer's agreement, it's not a construction one. They haven't even gotten a quote for the construction yet.
But is Munhall Borough, they want them, and this is an ordinance of Homestead Borough.
Homestead Borough requires a developer's agreement.
Okay,
Or even to build a parking lot. I think it seems maybe somewhat excessive, all the requirements, but that's what they're ordinance says.
Right.
And they have to bond the improvements to this area.
Okay.
I haven't seen the ordinance, but I know the attorney for Turtle Creek Valley is also a municipal solicitor. He said he negotiated as much as he could with the borough for the developers agreement, but this is part of the requirement in order to get the bond required for Homestead to sign a developers agreement, so then they can be finally ready to get a quote from a contractor, and we can find out what this is actually going to cost.
So what Munhall Borough is liable for, besides the original agreement, is the $1,800 associated with what is needed by Homestead.
And we're liable for all the costs.
All of it.
Well, I understand that, but the $1,800 is just for this developers agreement. The rest is determined in the original agreement for the property, which that hasn't been figured out. what
Well,
that's gonna be.
this is encompassed within that. The original agreement didn't say anything about a bond.
Okay,
But
now I
it's,
understand.
it's encompassed in the fact that we have to build a lot, and we can't build
Right.
a lot unless we satisfy
Okay.
Homestead's ordinance,
So
which
they need a
requires a developer's bond. So it's part of the cost.
So do we have any estimates yet, or no construction plans?
It's nothing.
So as far as an expense is concerned, they're still planning, so as far as from a cash flow standpoint, this is gonna be a 2025 expense.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
but I mean, part of it could come up, we have to, we have to take the stormwater into Munhall system. We've already met and talked about that.
Okay,
And we're gonna run a line from the parking lot into a culvert, which is in the corner of the parking lot right up here. I don't know what direction it is. So that has to be done in addition to the construction.
okay,
So this is all moving forward, but we don't have any hard costs at all yet.
yeah. Were any, one of the questions was in the agreement, the number of parking spaces in the actual, what the lot was made of. There's up on top of the hill, there's the driveway coming down, and there's the second. Has that been settled yet?
Yeah, there's a design proposal I've seen that seems consistent with the agreement. I don't remember whether it's 62 spaces or whatever it says, and there has to be ingress and egress, which originally wanted 2 points, and we said no to that. So it's just gonna be ingress and egress from the existing parking lot to go up the hill.
Are they thinking they're gonna have an estimate on the construction for next year? Or they're just gonna
They wanna
have?
get this built ASAP, so once everything's in place with the borough, we're gonna get a price.
Okay, with usually the last, this is an engineer question, usually the mid to end October is when paving kind of quits.
November 1st, yeah, usually.
So they have plans, sort of, and then they have to go out to bid. So
Well, they have underground work.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of site work before they get to paving.
What's that, I'm sorry?
There'll be a lot of site work before they get to paving, so.
Okay, so we're looking at a 2025 expense.
Exactly.
With the
Oh,
expense.
yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
good.
But no, but I mean, they can do,
That'll happen this year.
they can do site work, could, feasibly start at the end of this year, I don't know.
Okay.
But the paving will be at the end, and that wouldn't be until the spring, I imagine.
Are they requesting us in the agreement to pay some of the expenses up front? Or like, the typical construction would be paid.
They haven't asked for any money yet, so I haven't
That's a
brought it
good
up.
thing. I like the way that agreement's going.
Don't ask.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, the 2 years past, we moved in July of 2024 this year, that agreement with leasing space in this building that they got first priority, that's done and gone.
I think that expired though, but I haven't looked at that in a long time.
Yeah.
They had an option, I
Right.
recall correctly, and that probably has expired.
It was 2 years after, so that's an
Okay.
important thing
Yeah.
that, in discussions with David to get him up to speed.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing, there is an RFP right there for some third-party inspectors that you're going out with, the workload of everything going on, that probably makes a lot of sense, so. I'm good, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the public?
Come on up.
My name is Daniel Ramsay. I live on 327 East Homestead, East 12 in Homestead, and I got this war memorial plaque, which was in Park Square. So officially there are 6 soldiers who from Munhall who died in World War I. There were actually 7. There were 6 plaques in Park Square, 2 are known. I was promised to get a second one with the block, and that should be here, in my opinion, in the council chamber. As was K. Davis with a 508 cliff, and he was gassed and he was gone for a week or 2, and that would be one way to honor his memory. I wrote up a proposed agreement with State Brennan. Of course, this has to be approved by council, and I just want to bring that to your attention so that we can put it on the agenda for a workshop or this council meeting. And if you have any questions, I can answer them.
So he was from Munhall?
Yes.
And he was killed?
Yep. So there were 7 Munhall soldiers. The 7th, he grew up in Munhall, and the family moved because of politics. He was placed on, his name is on the Homestead plaque, but he was a Munhall soldier. And someone, a descendant, asked about him. That's how I discovered that he was from Munhall. And it doesn't make sense to put new plaques in, they would disappear when you have a historical marker, you have all the names. It's next to the library, when people go to concert, you see the names.
Where are the names at?
The names are listed on the war memorial. His name is not listed on the war memorial.
The 7?
6 are listed. Okay,
But this gentleman is not.
He is listed on he is,
The 7th man is not.
He is not. Last year I sent you the UNIS list of documentation, and I also proposed I give the honor roll for all the war memorials and soldiers, including the one here. There are about 400 names. I gave a list, the list I gave to the borough, but it seems to have disappeared. So that's why I would propose that it will be put on the borough website. That if someone wants to know which Munhall soldiers served or died, they can go to the website and look up these.
Well, I think, Kevin, you should take this lead and work with him and get the names. And get it on the borough website.
Which war was that with?
World War I.
World War I.
He has the names.
I have the names.
He's got the names.
I have the old honor rolls. So, and then historical marker means there is not what pay for it. So basically you have to figure out where you put it. The
Absolutely.
The one thing which would
Very nice.
ask for that
Very
the
nice.
7 names will be placed on the war memorial. How that can be done. Veterans organizations probably will pay for it, and we can look at the details.
Ooh, I don't know about veterans organizations paying for it.
Now $100, or then you put it in budget, or
We can put it on our website to start. We can put it on the website to start.
yeah, we can figure out the working things out.
Yep. I think it will be very nice.
And work things out. So we have just a meeting and you can cross the next meeting.
You'll have to have a war memorial committee meeting and we can discuss it. Sure, okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I think
Daniel.
Brad has.
Daniel, it's good seeing you.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good, and I think David's idea of putting it on the website is a good idea too. I think that's great. We could do them all.
What's his last name?
Daniel, how do you pronounce your last name? What is it?
No, I'm sorry, RAMSEIR.
I'm sorry.
Got it.
You have the list there, can I see it?
Yeah. So, I have a complete.
Did you get this?
Pardon me? All right, we're gonna move to motion number 5. Motion just gave the bills.
I just have one comment as well, Brad, Trigger from 1332 Margaret. If all of a sudden we have this $200,000 deficit that's preventing us from voting on some of these measures, where is that $200,000 coming from as far as overages and line items?
Where did it come from?
What are the culprits to that deficit?
Two
We just
primarily.
talked about it.
Repayment
We talked about all, the whole meeting.
overpayment
Payment
of
of clothes.
Let him speak.
I mean, he sat through the whole meeting, he's asked the same question.
Answer them.
No,
overpayment of taxes.
Okay,
We had over $100,000.
okay.
And then also some work with the Creek Street stuff as well. But I haven't go through the whole budget to see where.
Yeah.
But those are the two biggest.
I missed that, I don't understand how this.
We talked about that, where the $200,000 came from.
Yeah,
About two
That's fine,
hours.
that's the answer, that's the answer.
We definitely
Doesn't-
didn't give an
doesn't
answer where the
matter.
$200,000
Yes,
came
we
from.
did.
No, we did
That
not.
doesn't really matter, okay.
We did not.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I understand. And
Do you have any other
Are you
questions?
sitting down there?
Do you have another question?
Am I sitting down there? Yeah, I'm sitting right here. Can you see me?
Yeah, I'm not trying to be confrontational, that's something I don't understand.
And as I go through the budget more,
Yeah,
I will be able to give you more answers.
And by the way, I think it's worth saying in line with that, that's not on you. I mean, you've been here 3 weeks or however long. That is on this council, as far as these overages go.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what I'm.
That's where we talk about the concern of, the bond issue. And we had the rebates of the lows, and we had the Creek Street, I mean, these are all issues that come up on us.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's my concern, is that there's not going to be money to address some of these major issues in the community that are bringing down property values, that are bringing down property taxes, that are bringing down people wanting to come to this community.
The tax appeal we talked about was over $100,000. Now there's another appeal we lost too. So it'll be more than $100,000, just Lowe's by itself.
Right.
Right.
And we budgeted for that same amount, so that essentially they said, in our budget, we said, okay, we're gonna get this from Lowe's, and then they appealed this, and that's what that's
We
coming
gave
from.
them $100,000 back.
Okay.
Brad, how long have you lived at your home?
4 years, 4.5 years, actually.
Where did you live before that?
West Hempstead.
So when I first got on council, just to give you a little information, I got on council and Munhall Borough was broke. We were gonna lay people off. They were laying people off, okay? Oh yeah, they were. We were gonna lay people off. The borough was filled, so the council chambers were filled with police officers, people, their wives. Everyone was concerned about money and dollars and cents. I don't wanna see that happen again. I don't wanna see us get to the point where we're not gonna have to be able to have money to pay the bills. So, it was pretty ugly. We weren't worrying about having parks and rec stuff. We were worried about paying employees. Any other questions for you, Brad?
That's all.
Any other questions from anyone else in the public? Okay, let's move on then. Because we still have motions to pay bills for the period of August 1, 24 through August 31st, 24, summarized as follows, including payroll expenses, not including payroll expenses. I'm not sure how you read this.
Okay, so basically the not included would be all the other bills as payroll, and then go down to the second, number 2, that's paid. So you can do a motion basically for just not including payroll expenses.
So we go to number 2 then.
We'll do one first because that's not payroll.
All right, I see how, we're on 2 different pages here. So we're going to didn't say that a motion to, he says, number 5, we're going down to, including payroll expenses, it would be $746,840, is that correct?
Yes, but not including, would be 279, it's part of the motion for. The one on the right.
Okay, so we're not gonna worry about the one on the left?
That's everything, so basically, all this number here is included in that number.
Okay. So let's just do it all, it's $746,840.04. Is that right?
That combines 1 and 2.
There you go.
Yep, you can do it all one.
All one shot.
Okay.
All right? If anyone has any questions, we should have copies of that out there for you. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
One day.
One nay? Okay. One nay. Okay. Let's move to section A here.
The numbers don't add up, just so you guys know.
Okay, can you enlighten us then, Tim?
It's like $2,000 off on the, from the 746 number to the 469. It should be 467 and some change, I believe.
Yeah, you're right, number there. So the total would be, for both things, $748,777.74.
Thank you. All right, so this next motion, motion to vote on hiring a part-time police officer to round out shifts. We've come to a vote here. Do we want to table this? I need a motion to table.
Thought you already did that.
No, we didn't do that. We did not do that.
What were you saying that 2 hours ago, Barney? 2 hours ago, right?
Come on, guys. Let's be a little civil here. Come on.
I make a motion to hire Jonathan Zotter full-time.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All right, you either have to vote on that, or someone can make a motion to table. Those are your options.
I'm gonna make a motion that we table it until we find out what our finances are.
Second.
Now you vote on, the motion to table now supersedes the motion to hire. You have to take a vote on the motion to table and see if that passes. If it fails, then you vote on the first motion.
Okay. So Melissa, you want to do a roll call vote?
Yep. Motion to table the hiring of the full-time officer. Mrs. Fry?
To table the.
To
yes.
table it.
Yes.
Mr. Youngkin?
No.
Mr. Shields?
Yes.
Mr. Rondo?
Yes.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
Mr. Voted Dan?
No.
Mr. Reed?
No.
So we have 4 to 3. 4 yeses and 3 noes.
All right, motion is tabled.
Number B, motion to update zoning in the R2 to be able to change buildings to be designated
It should
apartments.
be motion to direct solicitor to draft zoning amendment ordinance in the R2 to be able to change buildings to designated apartments. I'm saying that based on the discussion I listened to.
Okay? We're voting to change the motion.
Well, no, you can just restate the motion, because in order to do this, the first step is I have to prepare an ordinance. So
Right.
that will be the motion.
Motion to prepare an ordinance.
Yeah, someone will have to make that motion.
I need a motion. I need a motion.
Motion to prepare ordinance.
I'll second that motion.
Council Trump, is it,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes unanimous. Motion to approve handicap parking in front of 811 East 11th Avenue.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion to list an RFP for third-party inspectors for commercial and residential building permits.
That's for advertising.
Motion. The motion to advertise an RFP, instead of the word list, it is advertise, that's what we're talking about.
All right, so this is a motion to advertise for an RFP for third-party inspectors for commercial and residential buildings.
motion.
Greg, do we have any idea how much it costs to have this third party that, we have to, do you think about the price?
We'll get prices. That's what they'll be giving us.
Who does it now?
It's up to the actual resident. They can choose whoever they like, I believe.
The resident and the contractor has the ability to pick their third-party inspector. Like, as of right now, like Still Valley School District, they're using NDIA. The Carnegie Library is using Professional Code Services. Philtech's using CEA. They're all certified through labor and industry, state certified inspectors. They do it on a daily basis.
How much revenue do we receive from those inspectors?
We don't charge anything and we don't receive anything from their inspectors.
Is there a reason why we don't?
Because the way it was set up, we don't require our people to go and choose one inspector. So we don't pay them we don't have a retaining fee with any company either. I think most municipalities, if you retain a third party, you have to pay them for retaining fees.
The third party wants your work, so we don't pay them. They usually give us
They give you,
an administrative fee for the work that they do in the municipality.
Mhm.
Some were 70-30, some were 80-20. So it's something that we definitely need to have.
yeah, I mean, they'll just,
We can get the
Yeah,
RFPs,
get
we can
RFP.
look at them, we don't have to accept any of them,
right, yeah, I mean,
right? So, all right, so I need a motion.
Motion.
Need a second. Rich
Rich motion.
Yeah,
Rich made a motion.
Okay,
Second. Somebody.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to install a small library in Woodhill Park by Ashley and Rowan Dreistad.
Motion.
Motion by Kevin,
Second.
second by Bernie. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very nice. Motion to join the Tri-Cog Land Bank as a member and participate in the land bank. I don't think, well, whatever, this can be voted on or it can be tabled.
Make a motion.
Second.
I make a motion that we table till we talk more about this.
Okay.
Tim, what was your motion for?
To join the Tri-Cog Land Bank.
Okay, so we have two
There
different.
was a motion, there was second, so.
So
we're
motion
good
is,
for that.
yep, so there's a motion and a second, that's a valid motion, just like last time. Now, Rini made a motion to table. If there's a second to that, that motion supersedes and must be voted on first.
Second.
Second.
Okay. So we do a vote on the motion to table first.
Correct.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote, Melissa?
Councilwoman Fry,
To table, yes.
Councilman Yunkins,
No.
Councilman Shields,
No.
Councilman Ondo,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman Bodedian,
No.
Councilman Eads.
No.
I have 4 noes and 3 yeses.
Okay, so the council, the motion to table is not falling through.
That failed, so you now have to call for a vote on the first motion.
Okay, so I need a motion,
We have the motion.
okay, I need a vote, or I was gonna read it again, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's fine. I don't need a vote.
That's okay. Motion to join the Tri-Cog Land Bank as a member and participate in the land bank development activities. I need a motion.
I already made a motion.
We have the motion.
Motion is
Second.
second.
Just call for the vote.
I need a vote.
Who's the second?
Second was Rich.
Rich, you need a roll call.
Need a roll call vote, Melissa.
Councilwoman Frye?
To join the Tri-Cog Land Bank, no.
Councilman Yunkins?
Yes.
Councilman Shields?
Yes.
Vice President Ondo?
No.
President Brennan?
No.
Councilman Fotedian?
Yes.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
I have 4 yeses, 3 noes.
Motion passes.
Okay, this has to be done by ordinance, and I understand there's an agreement. I haven't seen either of
Here
those
it
things.
is.
Okay,
Okay,
so
all you
I
right now.
need to review these things, and an ordinance will have to be advertised.
The ordinance is prepared, so you can look at that.
Okay, all
And
right.
this is the IC agreement with the county,
Oh,
plus the budget.
Okay, is there a deadline on this?
It has to be approved before their next council meeting, which is 2 days after our consent. So to advertise, how much was 30 days advertisement?
It has to be, so we have to adopt the ordinance by our next meeting?
Yes.
All right, well, the only way that's possible is if we advertise.
Yeah, we can advertise right away, just let me know what you need to do. Just take a look at that, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry.
My concern is to make a motion to advertise now, we're spending money on an ad, it's not on the agenda.
Can't do it.
So, yeah.
This really
Decide.
shouldn't be voted on right now.
Need to
I don't know if we have $20,000 to spend on this.
Raise taxes.
That's all.
Protect our kids, that's all, and that's what we're used to doing.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We can work that out, right?
Yeah,
All right, let's,
I'll talk to David about it.
motion to adopt the concurring resolution to apply for Act 152 grant for blight remediation with Allegheny County Economic Development. When do you ask for a question?
After the second.
After the motion, after the second,
I'll
right?
make a motion.
Second?
Question?
Does this have anything to do with the tri-bank,
Nope.
land bank?
Nope.
Or is this- Okay, just tell me, what is Act 152 grant? So when we vote, we know what we're voting.
It's a grant to basically tear down blighted homes, right? To tear down blighted homes. It's for $90,000 through the Allegheny County Economic Development.
That gives us $90,000?
Yes.
To do that.
So Dave, G and I are both the same idea, 90,000. Is that what you're saying?
What? Yes, yes.
Motion G
Mhm.
and motion I are
Yep.
the same,
Both 90,000. I don't know why they're coincidentally the
the
90,000.
same?
The same, yes.
Okay.
They're not for the same.
Not for the same
They're for
thing.
different
Oh,
things.
no, you're right.
They're for
No, it's
different
different.
things.
Yeah, that's different. I got that
Demolition.
wrong. That one is for,
Okay.
actually it's 186,000, so I got those mixed up. That's for $186,778 for item
Aye.
I.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
90,000 up here.
That's through Allegheny County Health Department.
Okay, any other questions? I need a motion, or no, I need a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor? Any nays? Motion passes. Motion to adopt the slums and blight resolution stating why selected houses are blighted and should be demolished.
This is part of the previous thing. This is a separate item that needs to be approved. It's basically the selection process for the blighted homes.
Okay,
Motion.
Who makes the selection?
let's get to the second, you can ask a question. I need a second?
Second.
Now ask your question.
Who makes the selection?
Do you have the answer to this? Because this was given to me by Dan, both these documents.
Okay. I mean, I put the houses on, like, the ones I picked was, the two houses that were a fire on Harrison Street, 25 and 26. Then those two houses on Martha Street. And then a house on Margaret Street that's falling down, and the one on Louise Street that is falling down. as
So
well.
basically, you make the decision?
Yeah, I've drove around, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Dan asked me to put third, I think Matt or Dan asked me to put five or six, five on.
The 5 or 6 words.
All in favor?
So the,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, go ahead.
so the 90,000 is what we applied for, doesn't mean we're gonna get it.
Right? That's for the, for the blight remediation.
Blight remediation, yeah.
Okay, so, are we all in favor of the slums and blight resolution?
Yeah.
Yes.
All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Any nays? No. Okay. So, motion for a concurring resolution to apply for $90,000.
$186,778.
I'm sorry,
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's my fault.
That's okay, I can read that. Motion for a concurring resolution to apply for $186,000 to the Clean Air Fund for matching funds for the electric garbage trucks.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. We get no choice. Aye.
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 Okay. Any nays? All in favor then. Motion to hire a full-time crossing guard and a backup crossing guard. I guess this is a vote between Sharon Grace and Judy.
We're hiring them both, right?
No, only one. Only, one is hired, and then the other is a backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, chief?
Correct.
Hire them both.
So they're hiring them both. So we need to distinguish who's the full-time and who is the backup.
How do we know that?
By vote.
Vote.
They both want the full-time.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But they're both willing to do
Backup.
backup.
Who'd you interview first?
Sharon Grace.
Hey, I don't know either one of them, how can I,
You don't have
It's
to
a
know.
crossing guard post, but
I know Sharon Grace, I believe. Her
Once it could be a
husband
backup,
passed
it's gonna
away.
be full.
I know Julie Vecchiolia
Yep.
and.
I know you.
I mean, if you don't know, probably the best thing to do is whoever put their application in first.
Which was Sharon Grace.
So who wants the backup and who wants the full?
it's up to us.
So I need a vote.
I'd like to make a motion to hire Sharon Grace full-time, as the full-time position. You that way?
You can. I need a second.
Second.
Okay. All right,
I
so,
have a question on the motion.
okay,
Who's paying for it?
don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Isn't it traditionally split between the borough and the school?
Right,
Yeah.
but between the bar and school.
It should be split 50-50, borough, school. That's how it's usually done.
Yeah, it's
The
done.
school pay
Still
their
done,
half,
yes.
yeah, so we pay half.
Are we over on crossing guard expenses this year, or are we under budget on that? We have to know.
We don't have, we have someone resign, retire.
We had someone pass away in the police department, we can't replace this position either, so I'm just saying.
You're right, Tim.
We heard you.
I'm just asking a question.
I don't know. I can't give you that answer. But for the safety of our children, I think we need to hire one of them,
Yeah, you don't care about them in school, but you care about them getting to school.
full-time. I need a vote.
We'll get them that, but whatever happens inside, we ain't worried about it.
Tim,
Free for all.
did we not hire a full-time person, or, I don't wanna use a person's name, to be in the school 5 days a week at Park School? Am I right?
Nope.
He's part-time. He works 3 days a week
Okay,
and 2 on the road.
and we did not say.
Oh, we're not
we
going down
wanted
to this
5
conversation
days.
again, please. You know what? Can I get a vote here? Sharon
I
Grace.
asked a question, are we over budget on crossing guards, or are we under budget
Don't
on
know.
crossing guards?
I answered you, I don't know.
We know everything else, but we don't know.
I don't know that. You should look that up and find that out for yourself.
I'm looking right now.
Good.
Just ask a simple question.
All right, well, we'll sit here then.
Okay.
I don't care. I'll sit here until 12:30.
Let's make it 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm not thinking.
Not me.
Me neither. I'm gonna go here in about 3 minutes.
I think we
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I think we ought to.
How come I'm not allowed to ask a question?
I'm not taking a break, I'm going home.
So,
So,
who would sign this?
I vote for Sharon Grace for full-time.
Are we taking an individual vote?
We are.
Okay.
Before you go anywhere, Rick,
Yeah.
I got something.
Okay. Missy, my vote is for Judy Deckelon for full-time.
There was only one name mentioned in
Well, there's already, there's
Only
already.
one motion for Sharon Grace.
Oh, okay,
Sharon
so we
Grace.
have to all go down and
We
say.
decided to go
No,
person and
wait,
interview first.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to hire one of these ladies full-time. I don't know.
Sharon Grace, I said Sharon Grace.
Sharon Grace.
Okay, so that has to be voted on unless there's a motion to table. So, we're at that point.
Vote on that.
Okay.
I still have a question, are we over budget on the crossing guards, or are
We
we
don't
under
know.
budget for the year?
Nobody knows.
Let's just vote to table. That's all.
We need to cross these doors now.
No,
We
no,
can't
we
take-
need to cross.
No, Tim Eads doesn't care, so let's go.
You don't care
Uh,
about
we
the
are
kids?
under budget on
You don't care
crossing
about the
guards.
kids?
Can I say something? If one person has, one crossing guard has quit or left, so that means then you're not adding any more.
We're not over
How,
budget.
we're not over budget.
We're not.
So that would be, and
Under
then
budget.
second of all, if you need an extra, if one of the crossing guards calls off because they are sick,
just fills
then chief has to pull a police officer that's making, I don't know what they make, $30, $35, $40 an hour
No.
to replace a crossing guard that's making $15 an hour.
No, we're gonna have a backup.
Well,
That's why
what
there's
I'm
two
saying.
names.
That's,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, but if you don't vote for both of them, then you're gonna be more over budget because chief has to put a police officer in that position.
We do that a lot. We put police officers there a lot, so this is saving money in the budget. Rather than paying, taking guys to the street for a crossing guard. Actually, we need more crossing, not full-time crossing guards, we need more part-timers so the chief has a better list for call-out. Because some of the part-timers, you know, you call at the last minute, they may not be able to come on that morning, so. Or maybe if, I'd like to see 4 or 5 people the chief has access to call.
See you, Bill.
Oh, I'm staying.
Oh, he's there.
Hang on, Brett.
What's the company?
So we have a motion, second.
We have a motion to hire the Sharon Grace as the first full-time position. I vote for Sharon Grace.
I'll
So
second
just a
it.
yes or no?
Yes, 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 yes. Can I vote 7 times? Yes? So I can get out of here?
My next break.
Yes, you're next.
Rick calls.
You're next.
I'll be next one, yes, straight on. No,
real estate tax
No.
starts to come in.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I have a,
We're sharing grace.
Crossing for sure. Yes.
okay,
Yes.
20.
Yeah.
6 to 1.
so I got 6 to 1,
Okay.
or 5 to 2.
5 to 2.
$75,000.
And the other one will just be a backup, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do I
We don't have to
need,
vote on
I
that.
make a motion to make Judy the backup.
Whole mess out. In 22.
All right, motion is second to hire the Judy as a backup crossing guard.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? No.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Don't you need a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I think they both, Bernie and,
I think Bernie and them.
Bernie and Kevin.
I need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We'll have to Bernie.
Motion to adjourn. Wait a second.
Goodbye, David.
Good night, all. It's been such a pleasure being here.